Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
A Crew for a King by Fallen Angel Codester. To become king of the pirates, you need a crew. And in order to reach his dream, Luffy will need all the help he can get. Extended crew story. Slightly more serious Luffy. Adios.
The first thing Nami realized was that her body was very warm. Not uncomfortably so, it was actually very nice. There was a cloth of some kind on her forehead, and she could tell the bed underneath her was very fluffy. Where was she again? The mountain. The climb. Luffy and the others. Forcing her eyes open, Nami tilted her head around to get a look at what was going on. She could tell from the looks of things she was in some sort of medical facility, what with all the bandages and meds laying around. Slowly sitting up, she rubbed her forehead and groaned as her head spun. What had happened to her? How had she gotten so sick? A noise alerted her, and she looked up to see what had happened. She watched in relative confusion as a small, fluffy creature walked into the room, carrying a load of bloody bandages in its arms. It waddled right past her and towards some sort of receptacle, ditching the bandages there. Hello? She asked weakly, voice hoarse. The creature freaked out at her voice, dropped the tray it was carrying and stared at her in surprise. They watched each other for a moment before it freaked out again and ran for the doorway, hiding behind it. At least it tried to. He was actually totally visible. Hey, are you feeling okay? It asked, voice high and unstable. She couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl, much less what it even was anyway. If she had to guess though, it was a reindeer. I'm feeling good, she said. Did you take care of me? Thank you. The creature seemed happy at her praise, but refused to look at her as the smile over their face. It was doctoring that helped you more than me, they shouted. But I'm glad you're feeling good, I guess. Nami watched the creature in confusion, not sure what to say to him. After a moment or two, more memories of what had happened the past few days came back to her. Excuse me, she said. Are my friends nearby? I don't think I was alone. The creature hadn't calmed himself at all, but he nodded. The man that had the same sickness is through here, he said, nodding backwards. The other three are being tended to by doctoring. Can I see them? She asked. I'm worried about them. The fluffy animal made a face, seemingly thinking her request over. After a few moments, he sighed and walked over to some medical supplies, grabbing a cane. He then walked back over to her and gave it to her. Use that, he said without looking at her. You should still be pretty weak. Nami nodded, kicking the blankets off and using the cane to stabilize herself. He was right, she still could barely stand. That being said, it wasn't going to stop her. Following behind the small doctor, Nami walked through the door to find another bed, Yosaku lying in it. Smiling weakly, she sat down next to him and patted his head. His fever had gone down significantly, at least it felt like it should have. Yosaku, she said softly. Wake up, you big dolt. After a few more light taps, the swordsman grunted and scrunched up his face in annoyance. 5 more minutes, Mom, he muttered, making Nami roll her eyes. It's Nami, you moron, she said. Yosaku seemed confused by this, but soon his eyes opened weakly to look at her. Nami? He asked weakly. She nodded, and he just watched her in confusion before his eyes lit up. Nami, are you okay? You're up? I could ask you the same thing, stupid, she said. We both came down with whatever that was. How are you feeling? Still pretty bad, Yosaku replied as he rubbed his face. I feel hot all over, but I don't feel like I'm dying. Nami agreed with that diagnosis. She didn't feel up to snuff, but she also didn't feel like death. That was good. Chopper. A woman's voice rang out, startling the small creature nearby. Where's the redhead? She's over here, doctoring. The small creature, presumably named Chopper, said. She wanted to see her friend. Looking up, Nami watched as an older woman carrying a bottle of booze walked into the room. She has glasses resting on her forehead, and she looked pretty irritated. You wanna die, kid? She demanded in Nami's direction. It's barely been 5 minutes you've been well enough to talk and you're up walking over here. I wanted to see my friend, Nami replied. And I felt okay enough to do it. Did you save us? The doctor shrugged. took a sip of the booze and laughed, Chopper leaving the room to go somewhere else. I did, she replied. Name's Dr. Kureha, but you can call me Doctoring. The women walked over and placed a hand on Nami's head, nodded and did the same to Yosaku. 38 degrees huh? She asked. At least it's going down. What happened to us? Nami asked. We thought we were going to die. Dr. Kureha simply reached forward and pulled Nami's shirt up. Much to her surprise, on her abdomen was purple marks, which looked pretty horrific now that she saw them. What's that? She asked. You want to know my secret to eternal youth? I didn't say that, Nami replied. Kureha laughed. You both got bitten by a bug called Kestia, she replied as she let go of Nami's shirt. It's an ancient bug, so I don't know how you two got bit. Are you running around in ancient jungles without a shirt on? Nami and Yosaku stuttered at once, both reminded of the clothes Usopp had singed off of them on Little Garden. He'd done it to save them obviously, so Nami wasn't mad. Just an unintended consequence. I'm assuming that's a yes, Kureha said. Well anyway, the bug causes an intense fever and sickness, accompanied by vicious inflammation. It's often referred to as the 5-day disease. 5-day disease? Yosaku asked. So we'd have been fine in a few days, then? Kureha shrugged. In a sense, she said. Cause you die in 5 days. Nami's eyes widened at this, a pit widening in her stomach. Seriously? She asked. Kureha nodded. Indeed, she said. So you're lucky I still had some antibiotic lying around. And to think I was going to get rid of it. I guess we are pretty lucky, Nami replied. Thanks for helping us. Don't even try and leave, you, Kureha said. It'll take 3 days at least for you to be able to be up and about. You're still in pretty bad shape. This was bad news. They hadn't really had time for this detour in the first place, but to wait 3 more days, what was going to happen to Alabasta? That's not good, Yosaku said, speaking her mind. We have stuff to do. Is it more important than surviving? Kureha demanded. Before anyone could say another word, a screech echoed from somewhere else in the castle. Nami turned to watch as a door exploded inwards, Chopper sprinting inside. Luffy was in hot pursuit, his mouth watering. Nami noted that bandages covering the captain's entire body, worrying her. What had happened to him? Come back here, meet, Luffy shouted as Chopper ran away. Big bro Luffy, another voice said. Nami watched as Johnny burst in the door next, brandishing his blade. Meat that isn't dead yet needs to be properly skinned. Allow me to help you. Johnny's hands were also covered in bandages, as well as his face. All things considered though, he seemed to be in better shape than Luffy. Are you morons done yet? A third voice asked. Nijiko appeared in the door, also with bandages hands and face. She whipped Johnny on the back of the head with her pistol, making him drop his blade. Ow! He shouted. It's not just an animal, you idiots, she shouted as Luffy chased Chopper around the room. He's talking and everything. Talking? Luffy asked as he grabbed Chopper by the leg, looking at him. You can do that? Of course I can. Chopper shouted. Do I look like a normal reindeer to you? Well, your nose is blue, so no, Luffy replied. Chopper looked stunned at the captain's somewhat dumb answer, but Nami found herself missing it. She had been out for a few days, after all. Are you right in the head? Chopper demanded as Luffy released him. Luffy just laughed. I dunno, he answered. No, Nami said. It was then that the 3 injured crewmates seemed to notice Nami and Yosaku were up and Aiko shouted, practically pouncing her sister with a hug as Johnny and Luffy pounced them too. You're okay, how are you feeling? It's hard to tell when I'm being crushed, Nami shouted, her back crunching from the hugs she was getting. The trio quickly moved onto Yosaku, giving Nami time to look at them. They were clearly all hurt somewhat, and that bothered her. Are you guys okay? She asked. You're bandaged up? We're fine, Luffy replied. We were more worried about you. Fine? Kureha demanded as Chopper failed at hiding behind her legs. The 3 of you had vicious frostbite, Straw Hat most of all. Why were you wandering around with no clothes on? Well, what was I supposed to do? Luffy asked. The Lappins tore them up. I couldn't turn back for a coat. And you, blue-haired girl, Kureha said, ignoring Luffy. You almost lost a few fingers. Swordsman too. Although I suppose you deserve that for crossing that rope so high up. Rope? Nami asked, Feeling lost, Luffy gestured out the window. We crossed a really high up rope with our hands to get here, he said. It also snapped about halfway here, Johnny said as he put his blade away. I thought I was gonna die, Nijiko said as she picked at the bandages on her face, seemingly to scratch herself. Nami was at a loss. Had they really done all of that to get them to a doctor? That was insane. As the crew argued with the doctor, Nami felt gratitude rush through her entire body. They'd nearly gotten themselves killed to save her and Yosaku. She'd have to return the favor someday. Hey Doc, Luffy said as Nami tuned back into the conversation. What's up with that reindeer anyway? My name is Chopper, Chopper shouted, still failing to hide. Kureha just laughed at the exchange. Chopper's a reindeer, she said. Although he's obviously not a normal reindeer. He ate the human fruit as a baby, so now he's got human-level intelligence. I taught him about medicine cause he was interested, that's about it. Huh, cool. Luffy said. You're cool, Chopper. Chopper seemed surprised by this, but his cheeks still flushed. Human fruit? Nijiko asked. Weird, what would happen if a human ate that? They'd be a human. Johnny reasoned. Twice the human. Nijiko made a face at the swordsman, who seemed proud of his conclusion. Nami also saw her sister hand twitch near her pistol, which made her chuckle to herself. In any case, that's awesome, Luffy said. Yo, reindeer, join my crew. Huh? Everyone shouted at once, Luffy looking confused. What? He asked. No way, Chopper said. You guys are pirates, I've got no interest in joining a bunch of outlaws. That'd be a weird addition, Yosaku said, but he is trained in medicine. Exactly, Luffy shouted, and we need a doctor on board. That explains why neither of you had any sign of treatment, Kureha said as she gestured to Yosaku and Nami. You seriously don't have a doctor on the Grand Line? Well, we're shopping for one, Nami said with a weak laugh. You want to join, old lady? Luffy asked. I could do with either of you, maybe even both? Nice try, Kureha replied. I'm too old to be gallivanting around with such young pirates. But we need a doctor, Luffy complained. And with all the trouble we get into it's kinda necessary, Nami muttered under her breath. I'm sure you could find a younger doctor that's far more fitting for you than me, Kureha replied. Chopper, do me a favor and go close the door, it's freezing. I'll do my best, Chopper replied, swiftly leaving the room. Everyone watched him leave quietly, before Kureha sighed. That boy, I swear, she said. This made everyone turn to her quietly. What about him? Nijiko asked. Kureha chugged her booze before speaking. I think we really does want to go with you guys, she said. Pirates and all that stuff. He thinks he hides his interest in it. He's not good at hiding how he feels about things. So how do you figure he wants to join us? Johnny asked. He seemed pretty adamant about not wanting that. To you guys, maybe, Kureha replied. But he's pretty bad at hiding how he feels generally. That doesn't answer his question, Nami said pointedly. Kureha laughed. Sassy little brat, aren't ya? She asked, making Nami chortle. Alright, I'll tell ya. And so Kureha told them. She told them how Chopper had been ostracized from his group at birth thanks to his blue nose. How he was treated like crap for being different. How he was practically left on his own. Until he ate the human fruit. As if he hadn't had it rough already, Chopper was now flat out rejected by his herd, who now wanted nothing to do with him at all. They even attacked him to get rid of him. Rejected by his first family, Chopper attempted to change into a human form and join humans so that he couldn't be alone. That didn't work either, as the people there saw him as some sort of wild animal and shot at him, trying to get rid of him. Rejected by everyone, with no one who accepted him, Chopper had no one. And, of course, the story sent Johnny and Yosaku into hysterics. Little bro Chopper. Johnny shouted as tears practically jettisoned out from behind his glasses. You live such a tortured life, I want to help you. What a strong little reindeer he is. Yosaku cried as he clutched at Nijiko, who was paying more attention to Kureha. He does have it rough, Kureha said. There was one man, though. Someone who treated Chopper right. He was a fool though. A quack. But he gave him the time of day. The foolish Hiralik. Vivi was cold. She was anxious, but mostly cold. Maybe because she was lying in a snow heap waiting for Usopp to see something. What are they doing? she asked weakly as she rubbed at her arms. They're just walking, Usopp replied as he followed the group of Baroque Works agents with the scope on his rifle. They haven't really done anything yet. "'Cause we're in the middle of nowhere," Sanji said from Vivi's right. He puffed on his cigarette a bit, which was really the only heat Vivi could feel. "We should just deal with them." "When they have the numbers disadvantage," Vivi demanded. "Not a good idea." "I agree," Usopp said as he looked over at them. "And democracy means we win, Sanji." "I know how democracy works, you chump," Sanji said angrily. "I'm just saying, we can't let them stop Luffy and the others." "You think they aren't at the doctor yet?" Vivi asked. "I don't know," Sanji said. "But what I do know is they're here for you. That's a given. But they're bad guys. We shouldn't even let them into a town, much less get to that castle." "Well, if they're after Vivi then we shouldn't engage them at all," Usopp said. "Vivi needs to be protected." "Well, so do these people," Vivi countered. "If I cared more about myself than others, we wouldn't have stopped for Nami and Yosaku." "Exactly," Sanji replied. "And with how these guys have operated so far, I fear for any towns they happen across. Isn't Kokoe near here?" "Who knows, we've been lost for God knows how long," Usopp said. "I don't know where we are." "My point still stands," Sanji said. "Besides, you're a sniper, snipe them." "But," Usopp started. Luffy doesn't like killing, remember that?" "Who said kill them?" Sanji demanded. "Shoot their legs out. Their arms. I never said blast their skulls in." "3 of those 4 have devil fruit powers," Usopp said. "None of us do. I don't think we should take that risk. Besides, I'm not a good fighter. I don't know about you Vivi, but Sanji can't fight all 4 at once." Vivi knew Usopp was right. She didn't have much confidence in her fighting against these agents, which would leave Sanji all on his own. They really couldn't take this fight. This was the worst group to run into the agents. "Should we just wait then?" Vivi asked. "Wait for what?" Sanji demanded. "I guess we could try and find Marimo, but Lord knows what he's doing." "Wait up, swordsman." Zoro looked over his shoulder as Karoo sprinted ahead, confused. Dalton was in his cow form or whatever. "Chiru, stop," he said. The duck did as he was told, and Dalton soon caught up to them. "What?" he asked. "I need to talk to you," he said. "I know that we need to stop Wapol, but it's imperative that I tell you about him first." "Walk and talk," Zoro replied, Karoo taking off again. This time the duck let Dalton run beside them, allowing them to talk. Wapol's eaten the munch fruit, which allows him to practically eat anything he wants. He can use what he eats to power himself up, which can be an issue if he swallows a cannon or gun. "That's insane," Zoro replied. "Can he eat my swords?" "Absolutely, which is why I felt the need to warn you," Dalton replied. "If you underestimate him, he'll chomp down on your blades and take them for his own." Zoro didn't like the sound of that. All of these blades were very important to him, one especially. If they got eaten by that stout weirdo, he'd kill him with his bare hands. "Good to know," Zoro said. "Let's catch this freak." "We must stop him," Dalton said again. "Your friends trekked off to the castle to find a doctor. If he catches them while your friends are hurt, I fear for their safety as well." Zoro growled at this, drawing his blades. "Agreed," he said. "I'm stopping him before he gets close." It didn't take long before Zoro could see the fat former king and his friends riding on ahead of them. Smirking to himself, he drew his blades and turned to Dalton. "I see them up ahead," he said. "Let's finish this idiot." "I'm right behind you," Dalton replied. Smirking, Zoro kicked Karoo's sides like he was a horse. "Speed up, bird," he shouted. "We're stopping these guys right here right now." Karoo quacked unhappily, but he did as he was told and sped up a bit. Soon they were right up behind Wapol and his men. He kicked off of Karoo's back and raised his blades over his head, ready to bring them down on their heads. 3-sword style. Dragon twister. Spinning his blades, the wind picked up and tossed the 3 men off of their mount, whatever the hell it was. "What the hell?" Wapol shouted as he jumped up from the snow. "How did you catch up to us so fast? Robson is a white walkie, there's no way you beat his speed." "Well, that's weird, seeing as we did," Zoro replied as he rested a blade on his shoulder. "I'm going to have to ask you to not go back to your castle." "And why is that?" Wapol asked. "You're just some random pirate, don't order me around, Chess, Kuromarimo." Take care of these two while I go ahead. Yes sir, Chess said, Kuromarimo standing next to him. Dalton growled at this. Don't run you coward, he shouted, running forward. He dashed past both of Waipal's men easily, aiming to bring his blade down on the monk's head. An arrow shot through his shoulder, which prevented him from following through on his attack as he fell to the ground. Zoro knew that Dalton was in trouble now, so he advanced quickly and aimed his own blade at Chess' head, forcing both to turn their attention to him as Dalton retreated. Don't be so dumb next time, Zoro said. They aren't going to let us pass that easily. I know, it was a foolish move. Dalton hissed, breaking the arrow apart but keeping the tip in his arm. It would be foolish to take it out, after all. I won't make another mistake. You better not, Zoro said as he blocked Kuromarimo's strange gloved hands, because I don't want to be the people's hero all on my own. We won't allow you two to follow King Wapol, Chess said as he knocked another arrow. He will reclaim that castle, and then this country, it is his birthright. Yeah, keep talking, Zoro said as he pushed Kuromarimo away from him and slashed through the arrow that flew for him. I sure care about your reasons. I'll distract Chess, Dalton said. The last thing you want is to have to fight both of them at the same time. Sounds like a plan to me, Zoro said. Guess you're my opponent Afro. Don't mock my hair, Kuromarimo shouted as he advanced again, spikes protruding from his fists. I'm the magistrate of the Drum Kingdom. My strength is unparalleled. I'm sure it is, Zoro said as the two's weapons connected. Must be hard to be matched when you can just beat up on anyone with your trash king's permission, huh? Don't you dare talk about King Wapol like that, Zoro grunted as Kuromarimo pushed even harder against his blades. He's a kind and benevolent king, and he will take back the land that he was born to rule. Must be why everyone loves him so much. Zoro hissed under his breath. Thinking quickly, he raised his foot and kicked at Kuromarimo's stomach, forcing the man away from him. Raising his blades, he aimed them at the man. 3-sword style. Tiger trap. Raising both Yubashiri and Kitetsu, he burst forth and slashed at Kuromarimo, who fell to the ground in his attempt to dodge the attack. Gotcha! The man shouted. Chess, Zoro made a face as the man scrambled away, looking down. A puff of hair was stuck to his leg, just hanging there. After a few seconds an arrow shot through it, and it burst into flames. What the hell is this? He demanded, grimacing. And what the hell is that smell? It's my afro gloves combined with Chess flaming arrows, Kuromarimo declared. Enjoy being seared by it. If anything this was just an annoyance for now, and if he really had to he could take a knee and dip it into the snow. That being said, that would leave him open for an attack from Kuromarimo, and that was the last thing he needed. I'm your opponent, Dalton shouted, slashing at Chess with his blade. The tall man easily dodged the attack though, knocking another arrow. You'll have to reach me first, Dalton, he declared with a laugh. Can you do that while avoiding my barrages? Zoro took too long observing the conversation, just barely raising his blades in time to stop Kuromarimo punching him square in the mouth. And you'd better stay focused too, he shouted as Zoro forced him away, or else I'll take you out. Zoro smirked and raised his swords. Bring it, Afro. Chopper took a deep breath as he managed to hide from the scrambling voices in the hallway. He could tell that those dumb pirates had been looking for him, yelling about meat and him somehow being a little bro, whatever that meant. Those people were a bunch of freaks. Why the hell were they chasing him? I figured you might be in here. Chopper screamed in surprise as the door to the broom closet was opened, revealing the blue-haired girl from earlier. Najiko, was her name? He couldn't recall. Leave me alone, he shouted as he jumped to his feet. I don't want anything to do with you pirates. Well that's rude, she replied, crossing her arms as the door shut behind her. Should I call Luffy over here? Gah, no, don't, that's what I thought, she said, sighing as she sat down on the ground with him. I'm easier to talk to than those morons, trust me. I don't care, Chopper said, turning away from her. The woman didn't seem very interested in listening to him, rubbing at her bandaged hands. Kure had told us about Hiralik, she said, making Chopper's eyes widen and his stomach drop. About you and him. It was pretty sad. I don't want to talk about it, Chopper said weakly as his mind went back to those times. All it did was make him sad. It reminded me of my home, Najiko said. About my mom and I. Chopper made a face at this and turned to face her, seeing she now had a faraway look on her face. "It did?" he asked. Nijiko nodded. "She wasn't my real mom," Nijiko said. "Nami? That's the redhead if you didn't know, we were adopted. Wasn't the most traditional upbringing, but we were happy with what we had. Until Arlong showed up. You heard of fishmen?" "I've heard they're brutes," Chopper said, thinking back to the books he'd read on fishmen anatomy. "Big humanoid fish from an island they live on in the Grand Line." "Right," Nijiko replied. "Arlong and his gang were fishmen pirates. Also huge racists when it came to humans. He came to our island and took it over. We had to pay him or else he killed us on the spot." Nijiko's gaze darkened at this. Chopper could tell it wasn't a happy memory for her at all. What happened?" Chopper asked, feeling bad for asking. "We were poor," Nijiko said. "So of course we couldn't pay. Nami and I were too much for our mom, Belmir, to pay for. She could only afford herself, or the both of us. Well, I assume you can tell what she chose." "Well, it was pretty obvious. What did Arlong do?" Chopper asked weakly. The hate he saw grow in Nijiko's eyes worried him. "Shot her right in front of us," she said, raising her fingers into a pistol shape and pretending to blow the hammer back. Boom, she was gone. Just like that. Right in front of Nami and I. The story did seem eerily familiar now. "I am so sorry," Chopper said. "Don't be, it wasn't your fault," Nijiko replied as she rested her head on the wall behind her. "It sucks, doesn't it? Having a loved one die right in front of you, powerless to stop it. Had Belmir not adopted Nami and I, she'd still be alive. Had she lied like she was supposed to, it would have worked out. Maybe." Chopper felt bad for what Nijiko had to go through, but he was struggling to grasp her point. "What does this have to do with me?" he asked. Nijiko turned her head to look at him. "Well, my story might make you less lonely," she said. "That and I think you and I were coping the same way." "How so?" Chopper asked. Nijiko laughed weakly as she looked back up at the roof of the closet. "Kure had told us how Hiralik talked about pirates. How the Jolly Roger was the symbol of freedom. Of faith. That if he used it, he too could accomplish anything. It's a rather inspiring way to look at such a bleak symbol. But, you're still here, working, to honor his memory, aren't you?" "Of course I am," Chopper said. "All the good doctor wanted was to help this country and its people, and he paid for it. I'll do it in his place. I'll make sure no one defames that flag atop this castle." Nijiko smiled at this. "I figured," she said. "You're an honorable raccoon dog, you know that?" "I'm a reindeer, but, have you considered what Hiralik would have wanted?" Chopper frowned at this. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I'm talking about your own dreams," Nijiko said. "Surely you have some of your own, right? Something you want to do before you die." I don't really know," Chopper said, knowing damn well that was a lie. "What about you?" This caused a more cheerful look to cross Nijiko's face. "I wanted to see the world," she said, reaching out with her hand towards the roof. "I remember that from when I was little. I would read about all these fantastic places out there in the world. Where it rained lightning or places made of candy. Hell, even floating islands or places where animals walked and talked like people, kinda like you. All manner of things that may or may not have existed out there, ready to be discovered." The almost childlike gleam in her eyes made Chopper smile a bit. That was a nice dream to have. After what happened with Arlong, I'd nearly forgotten I ever had such a dream. I let it go, thinking it impossible or childish. But, so what if it is? My captain wants to be the pirate king for God's sake. I think I fit in. "But what happened with Arlong?" Chopper asked. "You never said." "Oh," Nijiko said. "That straw hat wearing doofus trying to cook you defeated him. Freed me and everyone else from his grip." "Seriously?" Chopper demanded, trying to see the connection there. "How was that moron responsible for saving anyone?" "It's hard to believe, I know," Nijiko said with a chuckle. "He's not exactly a picture-perfect hero. Still, he's the one who showed up to help us. Defeated Arlong and freed my village. My sister. Myself." At this, she took her pistols from her belt and stared at them. "I took up these weapons and joined his crew. Not because I felt I owed him, but because, well, maybe I'd get to see all sorts of things with him. He's already showed me what I thought was impossible. What else could I see if I was with him? Maybe places like I read about when I was a kid? Even grander? Chopper stared at her as Nijiko put her guns away. The way she spoke about her captain, it seemed he was an okay guy. Well, for trying to cook him anyway. But regardless, Chopper didn't know what to do. He could tell Nijiko meant well, but his eyes widened as his nose alerted him to something he hadn't smelt in a long time. Oh no, he hissed as he jumped to his feet. This is bad, really bad. What's the matter? Nijiko asked. Come with me. Running out of the broom closet, Chopper ignored Nijiko's confused shouts as he ran for Kureha's smell. Doctorine! He shouted as he burst into the office, startling Nami and Yosaku as they lay in bed. Wapol, Wapol's back. I know, she said flatly. I see the fat bastard out the window. Gasping, Chopper ran to the window and saw that Wapol was indeed there, riding Robson and laughing manically as he stared up at the castle. What's going on? Nijiko asked as she caught up. Wapol is back, Kureha said, presumably to tail his country back. Yo, you guys. Chopper turned to see the captain, Luffy, and the man wearing a blue jacket run into the room. That fat guy who bit Mary is here. This is bad. Chopper shouted. Listen, I need your help, all of you guys, we need to stop him. You hate him too? Luffy asked. He used to be king of this country, but he was a tyrant. He's a horrible man, Chopper replied. The captain's face hardened. Onward, Johnny, he shouted as the man next to him gritted his teeth. Fat guy needs to go. As you wish, big bro Luffy, Johnny shouted as he drew his blade. Fat man will regret the day he crossed the Straw Hat Pirates. Wait up, morons, Nijiko shouted out the door after them. Don't be stupid and get hurt even more, I'm coming after you. With this she turned back to Chopper. Coming, raccoon dog? Of course, Chopper shouted as he jumped from the windowsill. They'll never get back in this castle, never again. Ease up, kid, Kureha said as she stood and swigged from her bottle. I'll go and see him too. Maybe we can talk to him. I doubt it, but who knows? With this the trio left, leaving Yosaku and Nami to themselves. Think things will be okay? Yosaku asked. Nami chuckled as she looked back out the window to see Luffy and Johnny already confronting Wapol with angry shouts and arm-waving. I'm sure they'll be fine, she replied as she laid back down. It's one guy. Listen up, fat man, Luffy shouted angrily. You took a chunk out of Mary. And did some things to these people I guess, but I'm going to kick your ass for damaging Mary. I knew you were here, you rubbery bastard, Wapol shouted back. Get the hell out of my castle, and my country, I swear, don't make me kill you. Don't threaten my captain, Johnny said as he brandished his blade at Wapol, or else. Or else what, glasses? Wapol asked smugly as everyone else from inside joined them save Yosaku and Nami. Ah, you, witch, what do you think you're doing in my castle? Well, after you cowards left it abandoned, Chopper insisted we move in, she replied as she played with her liquor bottle. Insisted it was Hiralik's graveyard, and that he needed to defend it. I don't really get it, but hey, it makes him happy. Get out and be gone, Wapol shouted. It's my castle, you can't have it. It's you who needs to leave, Chopper shouted. Luffy turned, and gasped as the small reindeer turned into a massive beast. He still somewhat resembled his small form, but he was absolutely massive now. Holy crap, Luffy shouted. You're huge, how does that work? I'll never let anyone take the good doctor's flag down from up there, Chopper shouted. What does he mean? Luffy asked, turning to Johnny. I think he means that, Johnny replied, pointing upwards. Luffy looked, and saw that a Jolly Roger was painted on the flag atop the castle, accompanied by cherry blossoms. It reminded him of the story he'd been told, at least, part of it. Oh, I get it now, he said, voice lower, it's like that. Huh? Johnny asked. Luffy didn't bother answering him, taking a step forward instead. And then burst forth, driving a fist into Wapol's stomach. Gah! Wapol shouted as he flew backwards, damn near off the mountain before he slid to a stop, frowning. Luffy stood up straight and glared at the former king. Don't make me kick your ass, he said, even if you deserve it for what you did to Mary. Who is Mary? Wapol shouted back angrily as he clutched his stomach. How dare you strike me? If Chess and Kuromarimo were here, they'd kill you. Yeah, well, I don't see Checkers or Curry married mom anywhere. So you'll have to fight me yourself. Your Highness. Wapol growled at this as he jumped to his feet, Robson just standing off to the side looking confused. "I really wish they were here," he shouted. "If they were, they might have spared you, but because it's me, I'll kill you. Munch munch shock." Luffy watched as the man expanded outwards, growing even fatter than he had been before. His arms morphed into cannons, and he aimed them at Luffy. "What is that?" Luffy asked. Wapol laughed. "It's the power of my devil fruit, the munch munch fruit," he shouted. "I can eat and take on the properties of anything I want, using it. I can take on the look of cannons." He aimed them upwards, and Luffy's eyes widened as he looked up at the flag. "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm getting rid of an eyesore," Wapol shouted. "That man was a moron, and his flag is disgusting. I'm insulted that someone would fly such a horrific flag above my castle." "Don't." Wapol didn't listen, firing the cannon at the flag with no regard for Luffy's words. Chopper could do nothing but watch as the flag disappeared in an explosion, smoke billowing out from the tip of the castle. "And no," he hissed angrily. "Doctor." Rage filling his body, Chopper rushed Wapol and grabbed at him, taking the man by surprise. "What, so worked up over a flag?" he demanded as he grappled with Chopper. "Get a new one." "That flag was Dr. Hirulix," he shouted angrily, tears threatening to fall. He remembered how his own family had ostracized him. Humans did the same. The only person who ever accepted him as he was Hirulix. And Wapol had the gall to shoot at that flag after everything that had happened? "Hey, fatty." Chopper and Wapol both froze, both looking upwards towards the voice in question. Luffy was standing atop the castle, holding the severed flag pole in his hand. Said flag looked a little tattered, but otherwise okay. Luffy though, he looked positively livid. "How did he get up there?" Wapol demanded. "You have no idea what this flag represents," Luffy said. "Those who fly it are dedicated to following their dream. No matter what that dream is. They die for that dream. And you think it's disgusting? You're nothing but a coward." Chopper perked up as his name was called, and Luffy cast him a big smile. "I get it now. Defending a friend's dream? There's nothing more honorable, but you're not in this alone?" As if on cue, Chopper heard footsteps. Sword of the Sea. Crashing tide. Johnny slammed his blade horizontally into Wapol's stomach, knocking the wind out of the man and sending him sliding back. Gunshots flew off, clanging off of the now metallic chest of the former king. "Don't worry about a thing, little bro Chopper," Johnny shouted as he twirled his blade. "A real pirate risks his life all the time, especially for those he cares about." "Don't get cocky, Johnny," Nijiko called from behind him. "I'm getting some shots in on this bastard too." Chopper looked between all three of the pirates that stood by his side against Wapol, a feeling of wonder overtaking him. These guys are real pirates. Warriors of the sea, even. They're so cool. "Well, this was just flat out disappointing," Zoro said flatly as he kicked Kuromarimo's face, the unconscious man not able to defend himself. "They always talked big, but it seemed they couldn't back it up without Wapol's powers," Dalton said, wiping sweat from his now human brow. "That devil fruit, huh?" Zoro asked as he sheathed his blades. Dalton nodded. "You'd think it was lame, but the only limits to a devil fruit user are their imaginations. And despite how dull he may be, Wapol is deceivingly imaginative when it comes to hurting people." Dalton frowned. "In any case, we need to hurry to the castle. Wapol has no doubt made it there already, and I worry for the doctor and your friends." "Well, Luffy's there, so they should be okay," Zoro said. "But yeah, we should hurry. After all, I imagine that poor guy is getting chewed like a piece of gum at this point. Hey, gum." "Hey, Zoro." Making a face, Zoro looked up to see a sleigh barreling towards them through the snow. It slowly came to a stop in front of him, and he watched as Sanji, Usopp and Vivi jumped out of it and ran for him. "What are you guys doing here?" he asked. "We've got a big problem," Usopp shouted as he threw himself at Zoro, who dodged him. "Those agents are back here." "Huh?" he demanded, looking at the shitty cook and Vivi for answers. "We saw those Baroque Works agents come ashore," Vivi replied, also looking fairly concerned. "They followed us here." "How?" Zoro demanded. "We tied them up and everything." "Well, they obviously had a ship of their own, Marimo," Sanji said as he smoked his cigarette. "What are you and Dalton doing here?" "Dealing with these two," he replied, gesturing to the two men lying face down in the snow. Usopp gasped. Zoro nodded. "The shitty king is on his way back to his castle," he said as he gestured over his shoulder to the castle. "Left these two behind to fight us. Seems they really weren't up to the challenge." "Wait a minute," Vivi said, eyes on the castle. "That's not good." "Why not?" Zoro asked. "The agents were heading to the castle," Vivi replied. "I don't have a clue why, but we saw them heading in that direction before we lost them in the snow." "And these agents aren't to be trusted?" Dalton asked. Vivi shook her head. "Then we must make haste. Before your friends are overwhelmed." "I thought you said there's no way up that mountain?" Usopp asked. "I wouldn't worry about that," Sanji said. "I'm sure that Wax Moron can get them up there." "Wax?" Dalton asked, the others obviously catching on faster than him. "Oh, that makes sense," Usopp said. "Well, we better find a way to contact them, or else they'll be in trouble." "Get in the sleigh, Usopp," Zoro said as he climbed on with everyone else. "All right. Achu, don't get us sick, you freak." Mr. 3 made a face as he looked over his shoulder at Miss Valentine, thoroughly sick of her complaining. "Want to find your own way up this stupid mountain?" he demanded, pausing his wax creation. He and the other three were currently climbing up the mountain to the castle by using his wax power to create stairs, and it was taking a fair bit out of him. He wasn't going to take any complaining. "If I wouldn't get lost in the snow, I'd happily float out of here," Miss Valentine replied. "Why the hell are we going up here?" "Because we can use the king of this country," he shouted happily, gleeful at the brilliance of his plan. "We tell him we're bounty hunters, just like the plan was at Whiskey Peak. Say that those pirates are very dangerous and need to be taken care of. Once this whole island knows that they're the enemy, we can use our sway to take them down ourselves without causing a scene. And Mr. Zero doesn't have to know. Once we do that, we dispose of the princess and return to Alabasta as planned." "This plan is stupid," Ms. Goldenweek said from behind Ms. Valentine. "We're gonna die up here." "I'm tempted to agree with her," Mr. 5 said as he hugged his arms. "I'm freezing." "Did you idiots forget who our boss is?" Mr. 3 asked, causing a wave of unease to pass over the others. "Mr. Zero will find us once he knows we failed. He'll hunt us down no matter what ocean we flee to. As long as those kids have a chance of making it to Alabasta, our lives are on the line too. We don't have any options. We stop them here, or it's over." With this he turned and lit the fire on his head up again, continuing to make them a stairway up. "This is still stupid," Ms. Goldenweek replied. "Shut up and eat a cracker." "The pirates took them," Mr. 3 grumbled angrily under his breath, and he continued the climb, ignoring the cold running to his very core. He needed a thicker coat, but that would have to wait. He had insolent children to dispose of. "Johnny! Nijiko!" Luffy shouted from atop the castle, still standing by the flag. "Help Chopper deal with the king. I have a plan." "I trust it's a good one, Captain?" Nijiko asked, twirling one of her pistols around her finger. Luffy's laugh could be heard quite clearly despite how high up he was. "It's something all right," he replied. Nijiko just scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Johnny," she said, "you feeling good enough to swing that thing?" "I feel fine, big sis," Johnny shouted as he swung the blade confidently in front of himself. "Sutomakura and I can handle this guy." "You two shouldn't push too hard," Kureha said from behind them. "Both of you had frostbite, remember?" "Yeah, but you treated it," Johnny shouted. "So we're okay now." Kureha looked dumbfounded at Johnny's ridiculous claim. "Medicine didn't work like that. At least, not so quickly. Little bro Chopper. Can you fight?" Chopper jumped at being addressed, too wound up at watching the crew interact. I sure can," he said, digging into his pockets. He pulled out the small ball he had grabbed beforehand, smiling at it. "With this, I'll be able to help you." "What's that, candy?" Johnny asked. Chopper was about to answer, but his ears alerted him to another problem. He turned his head, frozen in shock as Wapol rushed towards him. The Mont's arms had turned into blades, ones he had presumably eaten beforehand. Johnny appeared in between him and Wapol, blocking both blades with his own. The men pushed against one another, allowing Chopper to get out of the way. "How dare you defy me?" Wapol shouted in Johnny's face. "I'm the king, and I decree that that disgusting monster that followed Hiralik around be killed this instant." "Monster?" Despite how hardened Chopper liked to think he was, the former king's words still hurt. That was how most people probably viewed him. Some unnatural beast that inhabited the castle on the mountain. It pained him to think about. Who? Nijiko's voice asked, breaking Chopper out of his thoughts. That cute little guy? You got to be kidding. Are you scared of little bro Chopper? Johnny asked, clearly trying to hold in a laugh. That's ridiculous. I'm not afraid of him, you morons. Wapol shouted. Look at him, he's disgusting. I don't want him anywhere near me, my castle, or my island. Chopper, still a little stunned from the surprise attack, noted Johnny's gaze lower slightly as he pressed against Wapol. You remind me of another tyrant, he said, thinking you get to decide who lives and dies. You're no better than he was. With a burst of strength, Johnny pushed Wapol away and twirled his blade back, glaring at the king. Without waiting, Johnny went on the heavy offensive, hacking and lashing at Wapol without rest. Wapol was forced to protect himself as Johnny slashed, but he was given no openings. Johnny's attacks were so fluid, so connected and quick that the king had no opening to go after. After a vicious horizontal slash, Johnny reared back. Sword of the Sea. Whirlpool impact. Kicking off of the ground, Johnny spun in the air before slashing at Wapol midsection, throwing the king into the air as he took the attack to the side. He rolled and was still on the ground, coughing and grumbling. Huh? Johnny shouted. Did you see that, you guys? Some king he is. NY froze as an explosion went off behind him, making him turn. While the swordsman had not noticed it, Wapol had turned one of his arms back into a cannon and had aimed it at Johnny. Nijiko had been faster though, firing a shot at the king as he aimed at Johnny. I said don't get cocky, Johnny. Nijiko said from near the castle door. Listen to me next time. My bad, Johnny said, the explosion and snow somehow making his glasses a little lopsided without revealing his eyes. I'm just glad my training is working so well. Nijiko just cast him a grin. But Chopper was just in awe. He was supposed to be helping, but did they even need his help? Wapol already seemed to be in a bad position without any more help from him. You'll pay for this. Wapol shouted as he jumped to his feet. How many times do I have to say it? I'm the king here. Shut up already, another voice said. Chopper looked up, eyes widening as he realized what was happening. Luffy was still up by the flagpole, but he was stretched all the way out into the air, flowing in the wind just like a flag. Despite this, he had a manic look on his face. Big bro, what are you doing? Johnny demanded. Does that fool not have a sense of self-preservation? Kureha had demanded. Well, judging how you lot got up here, I suppose the answer's that. Take the hint. Luffy shouted. I'm going to kick your ass for eating Mary. This isn't really about the ship right now, Luffy, Nijiko murmured. After everything that you did, you should be ashamed. Johnny, hold him in place. Sure. Johnny shouted, jumping for Wapol while he was distracted. His sword connected with one of Wapol's cannons, and the two held each other at bay. As Chopper watched the battle, he heard the ear-piercing sound of rubber snapping back into place. Before he even had a chance to look, a blur resembling Luffy hit Wapol dead on, throwing dirt and snow into the air as the captain let out a massive belly laugh. Bullseye! He shouted. Are you okay? Chopper shouted, all his instincts telling him Luffy should he hurt or dead. Luffy just laughed as the snow began to settle. I'm made of rubber, I'll be fine, he said. Made of rubber? What did that mean? Is Wapol? Chopper asked. Luffy didn't reply at first, so he just held his breath and waited. Before long the snow settled, and the king was nowhere to be seen. Luffy had knocked him completely off of the mountain. He's outta here, Luffy shouted happily, raising his hands over his head. That's what he gets for eating Mary, and hurting Chopper's feeling and going after the flag. That too. If you don't care as much, don't pretend you do, Nijiko said with a laugh as she walked up to them. Luffy puffed his cheeks up at this. I do so care, he said. I'm just still miffed about Mary is all. Nijiko said, pushing at the captain's cheek, causing the air to come back out his mouth. Acting all tough like Chopper's story impacted you. You wouldn't even listen to Nami's. That was different. Luffy shouted. Nijiko said, rubbing her shoulders. Let's get back inside, it's freezing out here. I was just about to advise that, Kureha said. before any of you get even more frostbitten. Damn it! Mr. 3 fell backwards in surprise as something impacted his stairs, nearly throwing all of them down the stairs. What was that? Ms. Valentine asked. An avalanche, Mr. 3 asked. Avalanches don't swear, Ms. Goldenweek told him. After the figure had stood up, Mr. 3 noted it was a pudgy man with blue hair. The man slowly stood up, realizing they were there. And who are you now? He demanded. More of those damn pirates? I'll kill you too. Now hold on, Mr. 3 said. Who are you? The man gritted his teeth. I am Wapol, the rightful king of this land, and if you're with that damn straw hat, I swear I'll throw you off this mountain. Mr. 3 smirked as he heard this, knowing that the situation had now turned in their favor. Please do not be angry, Your Highness, he said with a small bow. We are actually bounty hunters searching for that very man. Huh? Wapol demanded. What do you mean? Mr. 3 quickly produced a wanted poster for Luffy, showing it to the king. Is this the man you're referring to? He asked. Wapol looked livid just seeing the picture. That's that little runt, he shouted. I'll chew him to death. Then I implore you, dear king, allow us to help you, Mr. 3 said. All we ask in return is that a blue-haired woman traveling with them dies. The blue-haired one? Wapol asked. Sure, kill her. Help me take them down and reclaim my throne, Mr. 3 smirked. Then please move, Your Highness. I must continue our climb. How did it go outside? Nami asked as everyone returned inside. We knocked him straight off the mountain. Luffy replied with a wide smile. I'm sure the Lappins will eat well tonight. Must be weird to be the one being eaten, huh? Nijiko asked. Nami didn't know what her sister meant, but she was happy things had gone well. Despite knowing they'd be fine, she was worried. I'm not sure if he's done, but you guys sure beat him up, Chopper said. That was really cool. I did most of it, Luffy said. I helped, Johnny cried. Don't even bother Johnny, Nijiko advised as Luffy laughed. He's already taken all the credit. I wish I could have helped you guys, Yosaku shouted. Our new friends could have used me. Chopper looked a little surprised at this, but Luffy nodded. Don't worry Yosaku, you can help us next time, he said. Man, fighting really makes me hungry. Where's Sanji? Not here, Nijiko replied, turning to Kureha. You got a kitchen here, doctor? Yeah, it's down on the lower floor of the castle, Kureha said. Chopper, be a dear and show her to it. Oh okay, Chopper said. This way. Johnny, come with me, Nijiko said. I want your help. Right behind you, big sis, Johnny replied, following the quartermaster out of the room and down the hall. This left Luffy with Kureha, Nami and Yosaku, who didn't seem interested in just sitting around. Well, how are you guys feeling? He asked as he leaned back and forth on the stool he'd decided to sit on. A lot better, Nami said. We should be able to leave soon. Debatable, Kureha said. You should all stay in bed for a while. Don't have the option, Doc, Yosaku said. We need to be places. I know, you said as much, she replied, frowning. But leaving after being afflicted by such a deadly disease is just asking for trouble. Nami knew she was right, but they had no choice. They had to get Vivi to Alabasta before it was too late to stop the war. If they didn't make it in time, it'd make her feel horrible. After all, it was her fault they'd been delayed. Speaking of Sanji, Luffy, Nami said to the captain. Where's everyone else? You never said. They're back in the first town we were brought to, Luffy replied. We came to the mountain on our own. They should be nice and warm waiting for us to come back. Oh, okay, Nami said. I was just worried they were in trouble. Well, what do we have in here? Nijiko asked as she peeked into the fridge. Not a lot of meat. Luffy's gonna be upset. Johnny, fetch me a pan. Got it. Chopper just stood back and watched as the pair worked, doing their best to whip something up for everyone to eat. However, he wasn't really focused on that. He was too busy thinking about how they had easily jumped into the fray, defeating Wapol without him even needing to stand in. Why were they so willing to help? Sure, he'd heard Wapol had damaged their ship, but Luffy had no reason to defend the flag had that been the case. Who are these people, really? Hey, you guys? He asked weakly, making them both turn to him. I just wanted to thank you. Why, for helping me back there. Oh, that's nothing. Najiko said as she returned her gaze to the pot as Johnny poured veggies in. Glad to help. I know, but, Chopper said weakly, you really didn't have to. Don't worry, bopper, Johnny said. Friends help friends, that's just how it is. Friends. The smell of food quickly enveloped the air, blocking out any chance Chopper had at smelling anything else. The smell invaded his head, making his thoughts even more confusing. Did they consider him a friend? They had only just met, hadn't they? He watched as the pair worked, arguing and talking as they did so. It seemed so alien to him, two people being close. Was this what it looked like? Was this how people acted when they were close with another? He'd only really had doctoring, and even she was stiff and rude sometimes. This seemed fun. Make sure you don't burn this, Najiko instructed Johnny as she pointed at the pan with meat in it. I know Luffy doesn't care, but the rest of us will. I'm going to see if I can't mix up something fun to drink. Yo Chopper, any fruits around here? Fruits? Chopper asked, being brought back to reality. Well, they don't usually grow around here given the temperature. However, there's some blueberries that grow around here. They should be in the freezer. Freezer, huh? Najiko asked. I've never had blueberry juice, but I'm willing to give it a try. Boom. The three of them stumbled as the castle rocked with a massive explosion. The pan on the stove fell, the hot meats landing on Johnny as he hit the ground. Ah, hot, Johnny shouted. What the hell was that? Najiko demanded as she got back up, pulling a pistol out. I don't know, Chopper said weakly, but I don't like the sounds of it. Mr. 3 watched as the door blew wide open, revealing the armory inside, just as Wapple had said. Excellent job. Wapple shouted at Mr. 5. My goodness, you're already more useful than Chess and Kuromarimo. No problem, Mr. 5 replied as he pocketed the hand he'd used to blow the door open. Now, what's the plan here? Wapple cackled evilly as he turned to the weapons. Mr. 3 noted the man was licking his lips. We're about to blow Straw Hat right back to whatever backwater country he came from. The explosion rocked Luffy off of the stool he'd been sitting on, and he looked up in irritation as he landed. What the hell was that? He demanded as he got to his feet. If I had to guess, it was an explosion, Yosaku said, looking to be in deep thought. Kureha, however, looking ready to slap him had he not been so sick. Of course it was, you moron. Nami said. Was it that guy? Did he come back? That guy? That was possible. Granted, Luffy knew he'd tossed him off of the mountain, but it was always possible he'd come back. You guys stay here, I'll go check, he said. Bounding from the room, Luffy tore down the hallway and into the castle's center, soon finding the explosion's center. Standing near a cloud of smoke were the barbecue agents from Little Garden. The wax one, the bomb one, and the heavy one all stood by the door, staring inside. Hey, he shouted angrily. What the hell are you guys doing here? Why hello Straw Hat, Mr. 3 said with a devilish grin as they turned around. So good to see you again. Wish I could agree, Luffy said. I intended to leave you on Little Garden. Well, if that were the case, you should have burned my ship, Mr. 3 said. Now, we're here for the princess, be a dear and hand her over, Vivi isn't even here, Luffy replied, so piss off. As if I believed that, Mr. 3 snickered. Candle lock, Luffy gritted his teeth and the wax flew for him, ducking underneath the railing. The wax hit the wall, and he took his chance to jump off and face the three head-on. Gum gum pistol, he shouted, throwing his fist towards the trio. Wax jumped out of the floor and blocked his attack, before Mr. 5 and Ms. Valentine jumped out from behind it and rushed for him, preparing their own fists. Raising his arms, Luffy intended to block the attacks. Explosive knuckle. Mr. 5's fist struck his left arm, an explosion sending him flying to the right towards Ms. Valentine. 2,000-kilogram uppercut. Despite his attempt at blocking the attack, an intense amount of force slammed into him and tossed him right up into the air. He flew straight up and hit the roof, making it crack as it tried to slow his flight. Holy hell, that actually hurt. What did she do? Looking towards his arm, Luffy noted his arm already looked bruised. It was probably one of the heaviest hits he'd ever taken, second only to his grandpa's. She was stronger than he'd given her credit for. Growling, Luffy kicked off of the roof and flew down towards the pair, who were waiting for him. Gum Gum Gatling. throwing as many fists as he could. He saw the ground beneath them begin to crack as they ran for cover from his endless barrage. Breath bomb. Mr. 5 showed his face long enough to exhale loudly, the breath immediately exploding once it exited his mouth. This threw up a smokescreen, Luffy landing dead in the center of it. Coughing, he looked around frantically for his foes, hearing someone running for him. He turned to block, taking another vicious blow from Ms. Valentine as she punched for his stomach. "What's the matter?" she asked as Luffy slid backwards from the punch, his arms twanging in pain. "Did that hurt?" Luffy grinned through the pain. "Nope, not at all," he shouted. Gum Gum Axe. Stretching his foot high into the air, Luffy rocketed it back down towards the woman, aiming to force her away or send her right through the floor. 1000 kilogram anchor. Luffy's foot connected with Ms. Valentine's shoulder, and he gritted his teeth as his ankle bounced off as if it hadn't harmed her at all. "What's the matter, dear Captain? Your attack didn't push me anywhere." "I can see that," Luffy said. "How did you do that?" Ms. Valentine smirked. "You should learn some manners when talking to a lady," she said, rearing her fist back. 7,000 kilogram impact. The resounding explosions and battle noise only spurred Johnny to run further. He was at the front of the trio, Nijiko close behind him and Chopper riding his shoulders. "Hurry," Chopper said as he pulled at Johnny's already short hair. "We need to hurry." "I'm going as fast as I can, little bro," Johnny said. "It's a long hallway." "That damn king," Nijiko shouted as they rounded the next corner and continued to run. "He really had to come back this quick, huh?" "At least we can kick his ass again," Johnny said. "And then we can go back to cooking." "Wait, did we turn the stove off, big sis?" "What? The stove? Did we turn it off?" "Shut up about the stove," Nijiko said, driving the handle of her revolver into the back of Johnny's head, startling Chopper. "We don't have time to worry about that," deciding it was best to stay silent. Johnny ran as Chopper nursed the welt on the back of his head as best he could. Soon the trio made it to the center of the castle, and they were greeted by a sight they didn't think they'd be seeing. 3 of the Baroque Works agents were back, all standing together. Luffy was opposing them, but Johnny could only guess he was. He was currently trying to free himself from the wall he'd been punched into. "Oh hey you guys." Johnny turned at this voice to see the 4th agent, Ms. Golden Week, standing against the wall. She was watching them pretty indifferently, but it still made Johnny nervous. Hi?" Johnny asked as Chopper jumped down from his shoulders. Are you not fighting?" "Nah," she replied. "Your sniper destroyed my paints back on Little Garden. And of course this would be the one time I don't have backups. So I can't fight." "Oh," Johnny said. "I see." Ms. Golden Week nodded, pointing towards the other agents. "You'll want to watch out for them, though," she said. "They aren't going to give you guys an opening after Little Garden. They can't fail again." Johnny clenched his jaw at this, acknowledging that this fight was going to be much harder. "Ready?" Nijiko asked, drawing her guns. "Of course," Johnny said as he drew Tsutomakura from his side. "We have to help big bro Luffy. You said you can fight, right Chopper?" "Of course," Chopper said. "Let's get them." Nodding, Johnny ran forth, making his way for Mr. 3. The man saw him coming, and raised a wall of wax in front of himself. Johnny sliced through it horizontally, coming to a stop to glare at him. "Ah, it seems one of the swordsmen has joined us," he said. "Nice to see you." "What are you all doing here?" Johnny demanded. "Leave Princess Vivi alone." "Can't do that," Mr. 3 said. "She has to die, and after what happened on Little Garden, so do you lot." Candle spear. Wax shot out of the Mont's arm and rocketed for Johnny, who once again slashed through it. He bolted for Mr. 3, but another wall was thrown up in his path. An explosion went off, and the wall disappeared, opening up Mr. 3 for attack. Sword of the Sea. Cascading slash. Jumping. Johnny aimed to bring his sword down vertically on the Mont's head. Mr. 3 jumped back, more wax coming from his arms. Wax sword. Both arms produced swords, and he wielded them at Johnny. "Come at me, sword boy." Johnny gritted his teeth and he prepared himself. Those fake swords could never compare to the real thing. Nijiko watched as Johnny prepared to fight Mr. 3. She blasted through one of the walls the man put up with her pistols and the exploding rounds Usopp had provided to her, but she knew she couldn't back him up forever, mainly because Mr. 5 was wandering over to her and Chopper. "You, lady," Mr. Five said as he reached them. "Give me my pistol back." "Nah," Nijiko replied, playing with her acquired gun in her hand. "I've come to quite like this, so I won't be handing it over." Mr. Five frowned at this. "I wasn't asking," he said. "I want it back, so you can either give it to me or I'll kill you and take it." "I'd like to see you try," Nijiko said. "I'm going to need your help with this, Chopper. I don't think I can handle him on my own." "Why you're relying on me?" Chopper asked weakly. "Me? Am I asking too much?" Nijiko asked him. He stared at her in surprise for a moment, before the little reindeer steeled towards Mr. Five. "Oh, of course not," he said. "I'm more than capable of fighting him, dumb ass." Smirking at this, Nijiko aimed the stolen gun at Mr. Five. "Let's take this guy out, little buddy," she said. Chopper popped a small ball that looked like candy into his mouth, and he rushed towards Mr. Five. "Rumble!" he shouted. "Arm point." Nijiko watched, shocked, as Chopper's small form began to change. His body grew massively and his arms inflated as well, well beyond anything she had seen from any man before. His lower body was still quite small, but his arms were so thick that they could probably destroy any wall in its path. Chopper jumped and aimed an attack at the ground, but Mr. Five jumped away from it. Just like she had assumed, the attack cracked the floor beneath it. "Bomb shot," Mr. Five said, doing that disgusting move where he picked his nose and flicked it. "Guard point," Chopper said, his body morphing again. His massive arms and human-like body disappeared inside a massive growth of fur, which covered everything except the little guy's head. The explosion hit him dead on, sending him flying back and bouncing off of the wall. "You okay?" Nijiko asked as he rolled near her. "I'm fine," he said. "The little ball I ate lets me utilize my human fruit in different ways. I can change into a bunch of different forms." At this, he looked away from her. "They're not flashy or flattering, but—" "What the hell are you pouting about?" Nijiko demanded. "You're the coolest reindeer I've ever met. Now, keep that guy off of me so I can help you." Still blushing, Chopper nodded and changed form again, this time into one resembling a normal reindeer. He dashed at Mr. Five, who aimed more boogers at him. Nijiko wasn't going to allow it this time though. Reaching into a small pouch on her belt, she grabbed some of the ammo Usopp had made and swiftly loaded it. "Heavy shot," she shouted. Larger rounds fired out of the guns, soaring right for Mr. Five. He was fast, but not fast enough to dodge a gunshot. The larger bullet struck him in the stomach, winding him as he flew backwards. Chopper shifted form again, back to his arm point. He jumped and aimed a punch at Mr. Five, who was lying in wait for him. Explosive knuckle. The two attacks met in midair, the explosion from Mr. Five sending Chopper back into the ground. The agent was still in the air, and he flipped to aim his feet at the reindeer. Exploding stomp. He aimed to bring his foot down on Chopper, but Nijiko fired again. Mr. Five moved to kick the bullet away from him, which gave Chopper the time he needed to recover. Now Mr. Five was totally exposed, no useful body part ready to defend himself. As Chopper jumped, Mr. Five got to look just enough to see the reindeer's eyes as Chopper's attack connected. Cloven rose. Driving his hooves into the Mont's chest, Mr. Five was launched into the ceiling and broke through one of the balconies, before getting stuck in one above that. He didn't reappear, and Nijiko grinned. "Damn, that was a heavy hit, Chopper," she said, watching where the agent had disappeared to. "I don't think he's getting up from that." "It's not like your praise makes me feel good, you moron," Chopper said, doing some weird dance. Nijiko had to admit, in that buff form, it just made him look like the moron. Despite wanting to laugh at the reindeer's dance moves, she instead turned her gaze towards the other fights happening. Luffy was still tangling with Ms. Valentine, and it looked like her weight devil fruit was giving him trouble. Johnny and Mr. 3 were still going at it as well, the swordsman being easily held back by all manner of wax creations. If she had to guess, helping Johnny would be the most beneficial. After all, Luffy was the most capable of them all. A resounding metal clash brought her out of her thoughts. Looking forward, she saw that the door the agents had blown open was now behind a massive figure. This figure was a towering barrage of weapons. The legs of the figure were tank treads, and there were cannons attached to his midsection. His arms were also cannons, whilst massive blades stuck out of his shoulders. Atop his head was a spear, but that wasn't what she caught onto first. She just recognized the Mont's face. "Ha ha ha ha," Wapol shouted as he raised his cannon arms. "Your time has come. Shitty pirates. I've completed eating every weapon inside the armory of the castle. I've transformed into a fully fledged human weapon. But you won't get any chance to surrender this time." With this, he pointed his cannon arm towards Luffy, and Miss Valentine jumped out of the way. "Huh?" Luffy asked, not seeing Wapol in time. "Captain?" Boom! Nami winced as another explosion rocked the castle, nearly knocking her out of bed. After the fighting had started, she wanted nothing more but to go down and see what was going on. Sadly, Kureha was more than enough of an obstacle to stop both her and Yosaku. "Enough whining," the doctor said. "You two are still sick, and I won't allow you to fight." "But they might need us," Yosaku shouted. "Give me my sword back." "No," Kureha replied, withholding Jishin from the man. "Stay in bed. Your friends can handle it." "But we just need to make sure," Nami said. "What if something happens to the—" Nami was cut off by the door opening, and the rest of the breath she had escaped her lungs. Ms. Goldenweek casually walked into the room, meeting Nami's gaze. "Oh, I was right," she said. "Some of you were in here." "Why you?" Yosaku shouted. "You're one of those agents." "Is she now?" Kureha asked, eyeing the young woman irritably. "Easy, doctor," Ms. Goldenweek replied. "I'm not here to fight. Actually, I'm here to bargain." "Huh?" Nami asked, but Ms. Goldenweek didn't reply right away. She walked up and sat on the edge of her bed, looking towards her. "I'll be up front," she said. "I know you guys are strong. And your whole crew isn't even here, so I don't think we'll be able to stop you. And if we don't, we're dead meat. Our boss will kill all of us. I'm not joking." With this, she took a deep breath. "I'm not a fan of dying, and Mr. 3 has no idea what he's doing. He's scrambling because he's scared of dying too. But I don't agree with his methods. We lost once when we had the advantage. I don't understand how he thinks we can get away with it this time." What are you getting at?" Nami demanded. Ms. Goldenweek looked back at her. "It's obvious," she said. "I'm here to offer you my help." With this, the smaller girl's eyes hardened. "I'm willing to help you guys take down not only the enemies downstairs, but Mr. Zero. I'm willing to give you all the information I have about Baroque works, and I'll do my best to stop the civil war with Princess Vivi." Nami's eyes widened at this. Surely this had to be some kind of trap, right? There was no way that Miss Goldenweek was serious. "We can't trust you," she said bluntly. "There's no way you're serious." "Of course, that's understandable," she replied. "I am the enemy after all, so trusting me makes no sense. How about this?" Ms. Goldenweek raised a hand, lifting her index finger. "I help you two get better, temporarily, and you can join the fight downstairs. Not only that, but I'll help you take down my former allies and the Fat King. Will that make you trust me?" "Don't you care about your allies?" Nami demanded. "They're agents too, right?" "Of course I care about them," she replied. "If I could convince them to join us, I would. But Mr. 3 is not a traitor, and I don't know if Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine are interested in betraying the most dangerous man in this leg of the seas anyway. What do you say?" Nami made a face at this, unsure of what to do. On one hand, Ms. Goldenweek was offering up valuable intel that could turn the tide of this fight. Not only that, but her temporary allegiance as well. But, if it was a lie, Nami would be accepting an agreement that was made to trap them and get them all killed. "And what do you want from us, exactly?" she demanded. "There's no way you're just offering UPL like not dying." Ms. Goldenweek smirked. "Perceptive, aren't you?" she asked. "There is something I want. But, there's no point in asking for it just yet. After all, there's no guarantee we can defeat Mr. Zero even with my help. If we survive this ordeal, I'll let you know what I want." Nami frowned. That was even more suspicious. Not being upfront with what she wanted made this whole thing sound set up. But they were talking about a warlord, who ran an organization that could have been thousands strong. What could they do? Growling, Nami reached her conclusion. "You help us get out of here first, then we confer with everyone else," she said. "If they don't want you along, then it sucks for you. After all, I'm not captain. I can't make a decision for the whole crew. That's up to Luffy." Ms. Goldenweek watched her for a moment before she nodded. "That makes sense," she said as she stood up. Your captain was preoccupied, so I couldn't very well talk to him. Let's get us out of here, God, it's so cold up here, Usopp shouted, Zoro making a face as they climbed the rickety wax stairs. Shut up, would you? He demanded. We're almost at the top. After making it to the mountain and doing so searching, the group had discovered exactly what they thought they'd find. A wax creation leading up the mountain. Only problem being was that the intense cold was making them very fragile, so the group was staying very far apart from one another in order to prevent their weight from caving the wax in. We're almost to the top, Dalton said from behind Zoro. I must admit, this devil fruit creation is most impressive. Don't compliment him, Zoro said. He's the enemy, Dalton nodded. I pray Wapol has not made it to the armory, he said, or else your friends are in trouble. Why's that? Dalton frowned at this question. Because if he does, he'll ingest every weapon in the armory. Make himself a true-to-life human weapon. And we can't allow that. Zoro frowned as an explosion sounded over their heads. Well, let's hurry up, he said, because I don't think any of ours could make an explosion that loud. Luffy! Nejico shouted as smoke plumed out from the blast. Wapol had just fired a massive cannonball at the captain, who had no time to get out of the way. He hadn't re-emerged yet, and Wapol was having a field day with it. I'd love to see that straw hat bastard come out from that unscathed. He shouted. That's an extra potent cannon shot. The armory of my castle is chock full of dangerous weapons. Ha ha ha. Nejico ignored the Mons laughing and just watched worriedly. He had to be okay, right? It was Luffy. Slowly but surely, the smoke cleared and Luffy came back into view. His clothes had been shredded by the explosions and he was burned slightly, but otherwise he stood with his arms blocking his face. Damn, that hurt. He hissed under his breath. What happened? I've committed to my ultimate technique, Wapol replied. All the weapons in the castle have become mine, and you'll pay for making me damage my own home. I'll kill you. You're the one doing the damage, Luffy shouted, as if that was the main problem with what Wapol said. How is that our fault? Shut up. The king shouted back, his arm morphing. The cannon turned into a hand-shaped weapon, each finger becoming a singular cannon. Sharp harpoon-like objects appeared in the barrels, aimed at Luffy. I'll kill you. Just like that damn doctor, this castle will become your graveyard. After that, all hell broke loose. Wapol began to fire the harpoons rapidly, and Nejico had no choice but to dive for cover. She made it back to the tunnel she'd come from just as harpoons began to dig into the walls, Chopper right behind her. Crazy bastard. She shouted as her pounding heart rang in her ears. What the hell was in that armory? Weapons. Chopper shouted. But I had no idea that they had that kind in there, Nejico grimaced, daring not peek her head out, lest it be taken clean off. Wapol was still firing harpoons. The only sound that could be heard over the sound of them digging into the walls was his maniacal laughing. We need to do something, she hissed as she stared down at her shaking hands. But what? Think, Nejico. You signed up for this, damn it. You knew they were headed to the Grand Line. Are you going to die here without seeing those places you dreamed of as a kid? Growling and steeling herself, Nejico forced herself to look out. Right now Ms. Valentine and Mr. 3 were standing besides Wapol as he fired harpoons, watching with somewhat indifference. Johnny was hiding behind a pillar supporting the upper stairs, and Luffy was as well. They were all stuck with no way to attack. What now? Her answer came as she saw Yosaku balancing on the railing above Wapol, shirtless and covered in a teal-colored paint. What the hell is he? Nejico asked weakly, cutting herself off as Yosaku leapt from the railing, sword in hand. With a mighty swing the bald man brought the blades flat side down on Wapol's head, a sickening crunch resounding throughout the castle. Wapol, now wearing a blank expression, teetered on his feet and fell on his face. Yosaku landed on his feet in front of both agents, looking ready for battle. How dare you chase us here? He demanded as he brandished his blade at them, prepared to face the consequences. Why are you covered in paint? Johnny asked from around the pillar. Paint? Mr. 3 asked, his eyes widening. Ms. Goldenweek, where are you? Hiya, a new voice said. Looking upwards, Nejico saw the small pig-tailed agent standing on the same railing Yosaku had been, watching indifferently. What are you doing? Mr. 3 demanded. You said you had no paints, why are you helping them? I lied, Ms. Goldenweek said, dabbing her brush on the palette. Oh, and I'm also betraying you and the agency, sorry. What? Mr. 3 demanded. What do you mean? I thought we were partners. We are, she said. But I'm not willing to die for this agency, and I don't trust you and the others to win against this crew. So I made the self-preserving choice. I really am sorry. That little. Ms. Valentine hissed. How could you? Mr. Zero will take your head. I know he will, Ms. Goldenweek replied. I thought about it the whole way here. As far as I can tell, there were 4 outcomes. Either I stay with you guys, we fail, and I'm dead. Or we somehow succeed, and then Mr. Zero disposes of us the second we're not useful to him. If he's so willing to kill us for one failure, surely we can't mean much to him in the first place. Or, I betray you guys for these pirates, help them, and maybe live. That, or I'm dead because we fail and the princess gets killed. I can't see a way out of this. So you'd rather betray us? Mr. 3 demanded. I thought better of you, Ms. Goldenweek. Wax whip. Mr. 3's wax sprung out in gelatinous whips, flying straight for the small girl. Yosaku intercepted them, cutting them in half. I can't believe this, he said. You guys would attack a little girl? I'm 16, Ms. Goldenweek said flatly. Huh, Yosaku said. You don't look it. Weird. Anyway, for now little sis Ms. Goldenweek is on our side, and I won't let you hurt her. Then die with her, Mr. 3 said, turning his whips on Yosaku. Teal of healing is a new one I wanted to try, Ms. Goldenweek said from above. See how well it could repair a human body. Seems to work well, given this one nearly died. Yosaku slashed through both whips seamlessly, the wax dropping to the ground uselessly. Although there's no way it would fully heal someone. It's more of a stimulant to ease pain. And it's working great, Yosaku said. I feel great. Don't push it, Yosaku, Johnny said as he came out from behind the wall. She said it was only a stimulant. Okay, he said. Come on, everyone. Let's kick these morons out of here. Hearing this, Nijiko couldn't help but smile to herself. She didn't know what to think about Ms. Goldenweek, but for not she figured she could trust her. Come on, Chopper, she said. Let's get out there. Oh okay, he said, following her. They regrouped with the others, standing off against the agents, who now seemed to realize how outnumbered they were. Until Wapple stirred. Nijiko's stomach dropped as Wapple began to groan, getting up from the ground and rubbing his head with a human hand. What happened? He asked. I blacked out for a second. King, Mr. 3 said. These foolish pirates have attacked you. We need to finish them. At this, Wapall's face hardened. I remember now, he shouted, glaring at Yosaku. I'll kill you. Yosaku paled at this, but didn't run. Just try, he shouted back, barely sounding confident. Alright, someone fill me in, Luffy shouted, steam practically coming out of his ears. Why's Pigtails helping us? What did that fat king do? Whose ass do I kick? It's not hard, Luffy. Nijiko replied. Mr. 3, Ms. Valentine, and Mr. 5 if he shows up again. Ms. Goldenweek is on our side. Luffy said, rubbing his chin. I'm not sure I get it, but I'm still mad at that king, so I'll take him down. You guys deal with the others. We can do that, Week said, having appeared next to them. Let me help. What can you do? Nijiko asked. Easy, Ms. Goldenweek said as she brandished her brush. Like chemical paints can enhance or change your abilities. Color trap can be very helpful. Show us, Johnny said. The redhead nodded, whipping in Johnny's direction. Color trap, she said as she brandished a bright red marker on Johnny's chest. Crimson Battle Rage. Once she finished, Johnny gritted his teeth at this, letting out a violent roar before charging for the agents. He raised his blade, jumped, and swung for Mr. 3. The Waxman jumped. Johnny's attack missed, but the ground it connected with shattered. He'll be helpful for a while, Ms. Goldenweek said. Now, let's get some more going. Mr. 3 never thought this would happen. He knew that Ms. Goldenweek had been quiet on the way to Drum, but to think she would have betrayed them. It angered him beyond reason. But she'd learn her lesson. He knew how. There was no way he'd get caught out by them. Besides, he could keep a shitty swordsman at bay. A gunshot sounded off, and Mr. 3 looked past the swordsman to see the blue-haired woman aiming her gun at Miss Valentine. Miss Valentine had a red splatter on her chest, but it didn't appear to be blood. Red of bullfighting, he hissed to himself. Watch out, Miss Valentine. The gunslinger won't miss you now. I'll be wary, the woman replied. With this, the battle began. The gunslinger and the reindeer creature went for Miss Valentine, while the two swordsmen went for him and the captain went for Wapple. Get ready, Yosaku, the one called Johnny said. We're taking this guy right here, right now. Right behind you, partner, Yosaku replied. Mr. 3 readied himself, wax transforming into blades. Johnny came first, jumping in with a vertical swing. This blow was easily parried, and the man was sent flying off. Yosaku approached low, his blade low to the ground. Mr. 3 wasted no time in going after him, swinging the wax blades at him. Sword of the Earth. Grounded parry, stopping, the man took stance. Feet planted firmly on the ground. Blade pointed downward as it hung behind him. Yosaku waited. Mr. 3 wasn't interested in what he was doing, going in for the strike. My fighting style is more reactive than proactive. I need to wait for my moment. With his new blade Jishin, Yosaku had learned the hard way by sparring with Zoro and Johnny that his new blade wasn't fast enough to strike first and often. He had to be the one lying in wait, looking for an opening. To create that opening, he needed to use the enemy's motions against them. It was certainly more difficult against someone using a range weapon like Mr. 3's wax, but he could still make openings. Planting himself firmly on the ground, Yosaku kept his blade ready at his side as the wax blades made their way for him. They twisted and turned like tentacles, aiming to strike him down in a single blow. To be as hard and unmoving as the earth beneath me, to resist all attacks thrown at me. Yosaku's brain ticked. He saw his moment, just like he had occasionally during training. Bringing his blade out in front of him diagonally, he held it firm in his hands and grounded himself even harder. The wax struck against Jishin, and Yosaku felt the force behind them in his bones. For a moment, he thought it would break through, that he would fail. No, you promised yourself and Big Bro Luffy. You need to be an asset. These people, your crew, they're counting on you. Don't fail them. Gritting his teeth, Yosaku threw his back into it. With a mighty swing the wax blades were thrown away from him, far off course. Using his momentum as his blade swung up to the left, Yosaku ran through the opening directly for Mr. 3, who looked stunned at the turn of events. Sword of the Earth. Boulder drop. Using all of his upper body strength, Yosaku swung the blade back diagonally across Mr. 3's chest. Until he slipped. Losing his footing, Yosaku slipped and missed his target, his blade only slightly slicing the Mont's chest as he fell. Regardless, Mr. 3 grabbed at it in pain. You could have killed me, you know, he shouted angrily. It was an aim to maim at best, Yosaku replied, looking back to realize he'd slipped on wax. Looking up, Yosaku's eyes widened. In the opening he had created, Johnny had slipped behind Mr. 3. His blade was poised to run the man through with it, and it seemed Mr. 3 had sensed it. Turning, the man met Johnny's eyes as the color-trapped swordsman glared at him. Get out, Johnny said. Of this castle. The blade pierced forth with resounding speed, but Mr. 3 was faster. The man encased himself in wax, Johnny's sword getting stuck in it. Soon the rest of the wax dissipated, but Johnny was still stuck. Mr. 3 now wore a smirk on his face. Almost, he said. But no dice. The wax encasing Johnny burst out from Mr. 3, throwing Johnny into a wall and making him drop his sword. Yosaku rushed forth to try and help his partner, but Mr. 3 turned and met his blade with a solid wall of wax. Enough of this ridiculousness, he said as he clashed with Yosaku. Just hand the princess over. Never, Yosaku replied. Vivi needs to make it home. I'll never let you hurt her. Letting his strength fade, Yosaku ducked underneath the wall of wax as Mr. 3's previous strength used to push him back made him fall forward. Using his momentum, Yosaku appeared in between the man and the wax in the air, sword over his head. Sword of the Earth. Landslide slash. The blade was once again intercepted by wax and Mr. 3 smirked. Did you think 2 amateur swordsmen from the East Blue was enough to defeat me? He demanded. I'm the wax man. the third highest ranked agent in Baroque works. There's no way you two would ever be able to. Mr. 3 was cut off as Johnny roared in defiance, ready to cut the man in half from behind again. He had been given no choice. He once again wrapped himself up in wax, causing the attack to get stuck. This time though, Johnny was able to rip it out with another roar. Are you okay, partner? Yosaku asked weakly. Johnny nodded, a maniacal grin on his face. I'm great, he shouted. The small redhead's paint makes me feel exhilarated and ready for battle. I want to slice this guy's stupid hair off. It's not stupid, it's artistic, Mr. 3 shouted from inside the wax ball. Before anyone could say anything, the ball exploded outwards, catching both swordsmen by surprise. Yosaku freed himself from the wax, looking back at Mr. 3. The man had encased himself in a massive form of wax, building himself an exoskeleton made of it. Multiple arms came out of the creature body, all sporting different weapons and shapes. The legs were thick and long, clearly able to survive more than one strike. Come at me, you foolish swordsman, Mr. 3 shouted from inside the helmet. I dare you to defeat my wax dreadnought. Yosaku gritted his teeth, his cheeks feeling odd due to the dry paint on his body. Don't underestimate us, he shouted. Nijiko had to admit, the small redhead's paint was quite impressive. Every shot she had fired at Ms. Valentine so far had swerved multiple times in pursuit of its target, always trying to hit it. Ms. Valentine was on the heavy defensive now, needing to not only avoid the seeking bullets, but also Chopper, who was at her heels anytime she came too close to the ground. This is so aggravating, she heard the woman shout as she floated through the air. Damn you, Ms. Golden Week. How could you betray us like this? Guess she saw the writing on the wall, Nijiko replied as the woman hid behind one of the pillars in the room. It was hard to avoid Luffy and Waipal's struggle, both men exploding and tossing each other around the room like maniacs. Every time she looked though, she saw a smile on the captain's face. He was fine. So, why don't you? You won't win this. What she said was true, at least. Ms. Valentine's voice came. We may as well be dead either way. I know she's speaking the truth. If at any point he deems us as useless, off we go. I know it's happened before. I'm probably not the first Ms. Valentine. So Goldie's right in that regard. I just don't agree with her. With this, the woman reappeared and slammed herself into the floor, causing cracks to rush for Nijiko and Chopper. Both jumped out of the way, but the damage was reaching a pretty bad level. Many of the support pillars in the main chamber of the castle had been taken out by explosions or tremors, and it was becoming dangerous for both of them. So you know you'll die either way? Nijiko demanded, still aiming her pistol at the woman in the yellow coat. But you'll just choose the opposite side. Ms. Valentine made a face. I have no reason to bank on random East Blue pirate children, she replied coldly. Mr. Zero, he's beyond powerful. His reach alone stretches far across this leg of the Grand Line. I'll give your lot credit, you're strong for the East Blue. But against the boss that. Maybe Ms. Golden Week's just too young to understand. Understand what? Nijiko asked. Ms. Valentine frowned. The cruelty in this world, she replied. Sometimes it's unfair. Sometimes you walk down an unfortunate path and sometimes you reach a dead-end street. You may be the hero of your own story, but not every story's ending is fair or deserving. Sometimes it just ends. With this, the woman raised one of her arms. But to be honest, I'd rather give myself what I see as my best chance. Ms. Valentine slammed her hand down on the ground again, more cracks racing for Nijiko. Jumping again, Nijiko rolled and aimed her gun again. Surely you have something you dream about, right? Nijiko demanded. Surely something other than working for Mr. Zero. So what if I do? Ms. Valentine demanded. I have a better chance at reaching that dream if I kill you lot and the princess. So, I'll be getting on that. Nijiko made a face at this, thinking to herself. I suppose everyone has something that drives them, even if it's not always on their mind. 7,000 kilogram warhammer. Bringing her fist down again, the foundation of the floor finally gave in. Massive parts of it were destroyed completely as the ground beneath was revealed, dark and uncovered from the snow outside. Frowning, Nijiko raised her pistol again and aimed dead at Ms. Valentine. Express shot, she shouted. As opposed to a heavy shot, and express shot fired much more quickly due to more gunpowder and a smaller cartridge. The bullet flew straight and true. No time for Miss Valentine to even attempt dodge, though it obviously wouldn't work. It tore through her shoulder, making the woman cry out in pain. As she did so, Chopper ran up behind her and morphed into his arm point, ready to bring his hooves down on her. Miss Valentine was ready though. Turning, she raising her arms to defend herself. Chopper bounced off of her with a cry of pain and fell to the ground, morphing back into his smaller form. "I'm so tired of this," Miss Valentine shouted as Chopper tried to recover. 8,000 kilogram impact, bearing her open palm at Chopper. The woman brought it down at incredible speed. Nijiko was nowhere near close enough. A shot wouldn't stop her in time. Something did, though right before Miss Valentine's attack made impact, a blur impacted her. Due to only her arm being heavy, Miss Valentine was sent in a strange cartwheel in the air before landing on her back, crying out in pain. "What the hell is that?" Nijiko demanded as the weird cow stood up straight. "You." Chopper started, looking surprised. "And nobody moved," another voice said. Looking past the cow, Nijiko saw Usopp, Sanji, Zoro, Vivi and Karoo also standing in the open doorway. Usopp had been the one to speak, rifle pointed squarely at Miss Valentine. "Don't hurt the raccoon dog." "I'm a reindeer," Chopper shouted. "Wait, who are you guys?" "You guys finally made it," turning again, Nijiko said Luffy in Wapol's grasp, the human weapon's hands firing cannons at him as he was stuck. "I was wondering if you would show up. With you guys causing trouble, it was only a matter of time," Zoro said, scratching his head before unsheathing his blades. Usopp cocked his rifle, Sanji raised a leg, and Vivi's peacock spinners began to spin. "So," Sanji asked, "whose ass gets kicked first?" Mr. Five groaned and raised a hand to hold his head. That stupid reindeer sure had thrown him fair. Were they really that strong? It was hard to believe anyone from the East Blue could give him this much trouble. Finally managing to sit up, he cast a glance over the railing. From what he could see, the rest of that pirate's crew had caught up to them. The ones down below were now outnumbered by a fair amount, and it was safe to say the tables were not turned in their favor. "You awake?" a voice asked. Turning, Mr. Five saw Ms. Goldenweek standing there, watching him. "I am now," he said, sitting back down. "You gonna knock me out again, you traitor?" Ms. Goldenweek frowned. "Don't give me that," she said. "Everyone in Baroque works only looks out for themselves. Nobody works for Mr. Zero because he's a great guy and the org is like family. It's everyone for themselves." "Maybe so," Mr. Five said. "But I didn't peg you for being so foolish. After all, do you really think these pirates can defeat Mr. Zero?" "Maybe, maybe not," she said as she leaned up against the wall. "But the way I see it, I'm dead either way. Did you hear what I said before?" "Nah, I was out. Sorry. We're dead no matter what," Miss Goldenweek replied, turning to look at him. "We both know they're going to beat us here again. And suppose we somehow get to Alabasta, those pirates get there too and we're dead. Or, I gamble on them and live should I come out victorious. Sounds like a much better plan to me." Mr. Five chuckled at this. "You really have no faith in them, do you?" he asked. "Mr. Three and Miss Valentine, I mean." "Nope," Ms. Goldenweek replied. "They won't win, and once you lose, there's nothing more to be said. We'd be dead meat." Mr. Five knew she was right. He considered himself fairly strong, but this was beyond anything he'd been expecting. The crew was incredibly strong. Maybe not strong enough to beat Mr. Zero, but strong. If he was going to get out of here, it needed to be now. "You want to come too?" she asked him, voicing his thoughts. If she could go with them, was it possible for him too as well? Maybe Miss Valentine too? He knew that Ms. Goldenweek was right when she said no one in Baroque works that worked in someone else's interest. That being said, he did care somewhat for his blonde partner. They'd worked together a long time after all. Even if he didn't know her real name, she still meant more to him than anyone else at that shitty organization. Knowing Mr. Three, he'll probably concoct some idiotic plan to save our asses again. Mr. Five said. "Maybe it'd be good for me to get out while the going's good." "So, nah. I don't want to pal around with a bunch of kids." He said this as he stretched his arms. "I'm still getting out of here, though. Once those two idiots get the shit kicked out of them, I'll drag them back to Mr. Three's ship and we can get out of here. As far away as possible. I'm done trying to appease Mr. Zero. Well, I guess that's a good idea too. Ms. Goldenweek replied. You won't have to wait long, I think. The whole crew got here, so they're toast. Mr. Five just laughed at this. Yeah, I'll make sure I'm ready to get them out. He paused at this, making a face. Why are you going with them, anyway? You could just as easily come with me and get out of here. Is there something else you're looking for? At this, Ms. Goldenweek looked away from him, back down to the fighting below. Maybe, she said. It doesn't matter if they don't defeat Mr. Zero, though. Mr. Five nodded, looking back at the fighting as well. You're right, he said. Maybe we shouldn't put too much faith in them just yet. There they are, Wapol shouted as the rest of the Straw Hats filed into the room. The rest of these despicable pirates. You too. Help me finish them. Luffy looked downward, noting that both Ms. Valentine and Mr. Three looked pretty nervous now that the rest of the crew had followed them. Wapol, the cow shouted. How dare you show your face in these halls? You're a disgrace to your father's legacy. I am my father's legacy, Dalton. Wapol shouted back, putting a name to the cow for Luffy. What the hell was that power? It was so cool, and soon you'll be nothing more than simply that. A memory. Something I'll look back and laugh on as I rule this country from now until I die years and years from now. Easy there, fatty. Zoro said as he brandished his swords at the man. We've got a few things to pay you back for, so don't think we're going to go down that easily. A king should be benevolent and treat his people with the utmost of respect, Vivi said, a dark look on her face. You're the worst type of man to exist. Leave this place. Never come back. Wapol just laughed, dropping Luffy to the ground. He aimed his hand at the group, his entire arm turning into a multitude of cannons. Don't order me around, you shitty woman, he shouted. I'm above you and the rest of this trash. As Wapol fired, the battle begun. The group dispersed as the cannons began to fire. Zoro and Vivi moved to the left and ran behind the columns in the room, making their way towards Johnny, Yosaku and Mr. Three. Sanji moved left with Usopp and Dalton, finally coming to a stop behind a few of the other columns on that side. Listen up everyone, Luffy shouted as he stretched his arms all the way out. I call this guy, Sanji, Cow Guy, help me. Sure thing, Captain. Sanji said as smoke drifted out from behind one of the columns. His name is Dalton though. Right. Luffy agreed, not bothering to correct himself. Zoro, Vivi, help Johnny and Yosaku with that guy. Usopp, help Nejiko and Chopper with that woman. Everyone ready? With a resounding yes from his crew, the battle truly began its final chapter. Zoro smirked as he twirled his blades from in between his two students, watching the frantic-looking Mr. Three. Despite the fact that the man was encased inside a wax exoskeleton, he still didn't look confident. So we meet again, Waxy, he said flatly. Your staircase sure was helpful in getting up here. Thanks for that. It'll make getting my payback for trapping me in that stupid ornament set on Little Garden a lot easier. Despite the situation he found himself in, Mr. Three managed a weak smile. And yet you brought my target right to me, he said as wax poured out of his suit's arms, flowing towards Vivi off to the side. Candle lock. Princess, Yosaku shouted, moving to intercept the wax. There was no need though, as Vivi used her slashers to cut through the lock before it even hit her. I appreciate the thought, Mr. Three, Vivi said with a smirk on her face. But I'd really appreciate it if you kept your fantasies to yourself. Listen up, you two, Zoro said to Johnny and Yosaku, making both men look to him. We're gonna use this as an official exam of your strengths, got it? Both men paled at this. E-exam? Johnny asked. I didn't study, Yosaku cried. Yes you did, Zoro replied. You've been studying, so, now I want to see if there's any hope for either of you. I'm going to create an opening against this guy. When I do, I want you both to give him everything you've got. The strongest techniques you've created so far, got it? Beat big bro, they both started, silenced by the look Zoro gave them. Why yes sir, they opted for this instead, knowing he'd be even harsher should they refuse. Alright then, let's get going, he shouted, not giving either man a moment to gather themselves. Zoro bolted right for the wax man, jumping as a wax of wax hit the ground in an attempt to stop him. Free sword style. Bull needles. He thrust forward with the two swords in his hands. Lodging both deep inside the chest of the wax a smirk, he pulled the blades out and jumped back, still close enough for another attack. Tendrils of wax shot out of the chest of the dreadnought, but Zoro sliced through them with ease. After all, he was far stronger than Yosaku and Johnny were. Slicing through another 3 tendrils, Zoro flipped in the air and gripped his blades tightly. 3 sword S. Unleashing the hardest slashes he could, the air morphed around the blades and cut through the air itself. Doing so in a spiral, Zoro created a tornado of slashes directly in Mr. Three's face. The slashes carved through the wax with barely any trouble, exposing the man inside. The wind blew away any excess wax, leaving him staring at Zoro in shock. "Now," he shouted, looking back as he fell to the ground. Both Johnny and Yosaku were running forth, clearly worried yet determined all the same. Sword of the Sea. Raging tsunami. Gripping his blade tightly and bringing up horizontally, Johnny let out a vicious swing. Just like Zoro's Dragon Twister, the air around the slash morphed into an attack, raging towards Mr. Three. Candle Wall. Mr. Three shouted in an attempt to block the attack, but it was to no avail. Johnny's attack sliced right through the wall with ease, and Mr. Three was hit in the stomach, flying back and hitting the wall and getting the air knocked out of him. Yosaku burst past Zoro and raised his blade. Sword of the Earth. Tectonic shift. Jumping up, Yosaku tilted his blade so the flat side was facing Mr. Three as he fell. The man turned and his arms spat out wax in an attempt to protect him. It was to no avail, as Yosaku dodged the attack right before it hit him, the spinning that this gave him only increasing his strength. He drove the flat side into the Mon's skull and Zoro watched as Mr. Three flailed through the air and hit the ground. The impact created a crater from the sheer impact of Yosaku's strength, and he smirked to himself. Zoro said as Yosaku landed. Johnny's attack was a ranged attack with vicious strength and a wide range. Yosaku's was a brute force push, which can be even better if he waits for an opening from his enemy. He watched as the 2 men ran up to him and bowed, waiting for further instruction. "You two did well. I'm certainly impressed." Did we pass?" Yosaku asked weakly without looking up. "Yeah, for now," he said, watching as the 2 jumped for joy. "Now, get that idiot out of that crater and keep an eye on him. We've got to make sure he doesn't get back up." "Yes sir, big bro Zoro." Avoiding the explosions and fighting as Luffy, Sanji and Dalton fought Wapol was hard enough. Trying to defeat Ms. Valentine was even harder, especially given how every time they tried to do something Wapol usually got in the way. The king's massive weaponry was constantly making trouble, and it wasn't getting any better. Not to mention, Usopp was terrified. He was trying his best to help Negico and Chopper, as he learned the thing was called, but with everything else going on it was had to land a shot. The only thing good was that Ms. Valentine wasn't keen on going too far in, as Usopp's few shots that had landed seemingly made her second guess going in again. "Usopp," Negico shouted over the chaos, "do you have a shot yet?" "No," Usopp replied as smoke rolled over the battlefield from Wapol's cannons. "I'm trying though. I do have a theory if you're interested though." "Let's hear it." Usopp frowned as he aimed at Ms. Valentine, and watched as she fled behind a nearby pillar. "I don't know how her devil fruit works," he said, "but I think she's only increasing her mass, not her density. Do you know what I mean?" "Explain simpler, I'm distracted." "Well, a 300-pound person can still get shot, right?" he asked. "Same goes for someone who may be 100 or 500, she's not denser, just heavier, so she's avoiding my shots because she knows she'll still get hit." "Wait, you're right," Negico shouted as Usopp's eyes widened. "I shot through her shoulder before, she is able to be shot." "You've got a big mouth, you," Ms. Valentine's voice came. "Only thing that compares is that stupid nose." Usopp watched through his scope as she drove her heel onto the ground of the palace, kicking up debris. She twirled and slammed her foot into the rocks, sending them flying right at him. Crying out in surprise, he dove for cover as the debris flew past him, crashing into the walls and ground as it did so. He heard her drive her foot in again, and now it seemed she was going for the kill. If any of them got hit with that, they didn't stand much of a chance. "You okay?" Usopp screamed in panic as Negico and Chopper appeared next to him, startling them. "Don't scream, you moron. I have a plan." What is it? Usopp asked. Nijiko smirked and gestured to her chest, where red paint was dripping from her coat. That paints woman from Little Garden turned on her friends, she explained. This red makes sure I'll never miss Miss Valentine, but I've only been using the less lethal shots. I'm running low on ammo though. I didn't have a lot on me because I didn't think we'd be fighting on this god-forsaken island. So I need you to give me some of yours. Huh? Usopp demanded. I don't have any of my lethal ammo left. I converted most of it into special shots, and we haven't been shopping since Logatown. Seriously? Nijiko demanded, wearing an expression very alike to Nami. Usopp would never have guessed that they weren't related. Well, now what? We're under fire from that madwoman, and Wapol is destroying the castle he cares about so much. I have a plan, Chopper interrupted, as the pillar they were taking cover behind was destroyed by more debris. Usopp turned to the reindeer, wearing a confused expression. He did? Well? Nijiko asked. Chopper looked pretty frightened as well, but he nodded. If what your friend said is true, then obviously she's much more easy to defeat than we thought. You mentioned special ammo? Do you have any explosive shots? Usopp said weakly, fumbling through his bag. He dropped them a few times, but eventually he pulled out a few of the aforementioned explosive rounds. Yeah, right here. Good, he said. Nijiko and I are going to distract her. While we do that, you need to land a shot. Just one. After that, let us handle it. Usopp made a face at this, looking over at Nijiko. The woman nodded, so Usopp took a deep breath. Okay, he said. Let's do this. At this, their plan began. Nijiko and Chopper jumped out from behind the destroyed pillar, running right for Miss Valentine. Jumping away, Usopp crawled and laid down in between some of the debris she'd kicked their way. He aimed his rifle at Miss Valentine, waiting with gritted teeth. Chopper reached the woman first through the barrage of debris, his form changing. Usopp watched in surprise as the little childlike reindeer turned into a massive, hulking man-like figure, aiming a punch for the blonde. Ms. Valentine easily got out of the way, but Nijiko was ready for her now. The Mary's quartermaster swung her leg into Ms. Valentine's side, and Usopp noted the blonde grit her teeth. Even though her weight-changing powers let her not get blown away by such a kick, the kick clearly still did damage. The two women engaged in a quick hand-to-hand fight, Nijiko dodging all of the woman's strikes with ease. Usopp had to admit, her dodges and counterattacks looked very practiced. It looked like her practice with Zoro and Sanji was working out for her. For a while, it worked out too. Until it didn't. Reading what Nijiko had been about to do, Ms. Valentine dipped under her high kick, smirking at Nijiko. The quartermaster looked shocked, but Ms. Valentine was ready. 2,000 kilogram burst. Two quick punches were delivered right into Nijiko's stomach and ribs, and Usopp felt fright as the blue-haired girl spat up blood as she flew backwards and skidding across the ground. Chopper had jumped up to attack from above, but now Ms. Valentine was ready. Frozen by his indecision and unwillingness to hurt his friends, Usopp did not fire. Ms. Valentine met Chopper's fist head-on with her own, and while Chopper's attack clearly hurt her, Chopper was blown back by the sheer difference in impact. He flew upwards and into the ceiling, not reappearing. Shit. He watched as Ms. Valentine turned, wandering over to Nijiko as she attempted to get up from the blow beforehand. As she struggled to get up. What will you do if not having this rifle gets someone killed down the line, and you could have prevented their death if you had it? Nijiko's words from Logatown came back into Usopp's head. Just like that, his gaze hardened. His hands stopped shaking. All of a sudden, he had a clear shot at Miss Valentine. Get away from her, he hissed under his breath as the reticle crossed and landed directly on the woman's torso. Bang! With a mighty sound, the end of Usopp's rifle emitted smoke as he fired his shot. The cartridge soared across the battlefield, impacting Miss Valentine just as she turned at the sound. Boom! A cry of pain could be heard as the cartridge exploded, throwing up another plume of smoke as the explosion died away. Usopp took his eyes away from the cope and looked up, waiting for the result of their labor. Soon enough the smoke cleared, and Miss Valentine reappeared. She was standing exactly where she had been before, maybe a bit forward judging by the scraps under her feet. Her back was devoid of clothing, her yellow jacket having exploded along with the cartridge. Soon enough she coughed, staggering a bit. Assholes. She hissed as she tried to stay on her feet. How are you so strong? I don't understand. There's nothing to understand, Nijiko said, aiming her pistol at Ms. Valentine as she stood. You underestimated us. All there is to it. The quartermaster wiped the blood that was trickling down her face from her mouth, and this made Usopp apprehensive. How hurt was she? No way 2,000 kilos to the ribs left her okay. Get out of the way. Usopp watched as Chopper walked up beside Ms. Valentine, his gaze on Wapol and his fight with the others. You've lost. Accept it. Chopper didn't wait to hear what she had to say, smacking her in the back with his enlarged fists. Ms. Valentine flew through the air and into the wall, not getting up again. This left Wapol by himself. It wasn't long before the remainder of the Straw Hat crew converged on the king, aiming to help their captain, Cook and Dalton in defeating him. How are things going? Big bro Luffy. Yosaku shouted up as Luffy dodged cannonballs that Wapol fired at him, running around the third floor. Alright so far, the captain's voice came. I can handle it for you guys. Nonsense, Luffy, Vivi said. We're all a team, aren't we? We'll finish him together. You guys. It was Chopper who spoke, making everyone turn to him. I can help us defeat Wapol. Just keep him off of me for a little bit. Usopp watched as the reindeer shrank back down into his smaller form from before, and brought his hooves together in front of his face. From the looks of it, at least from what Usopp could see, he was just staring through his hooves. Look out! Johnny shouted as he hit the ground. He's gonna fire a laser. Gah! Yosaku shouted, hitting the ground too. Are you guys sane? Vivi shouted, now also donning a look similar to Nami and Nijiko. Just keep him away from me, Chopper said. I'll find his weak spot. You heard the reindeer, Nijiko said. What are you lugs waiting for? Let's get this fatty. The voice of their quartermaster seemed to spur the men of the Straw Hats into action, all of them preparing to attack. Usopp quickly loaded another of his remaining explosive rounds, and aimed it square at Wapol. As for the Mad King, he looked positively livid. Can't trust Chess or Kuromarimo, he hissed. Can't trust these bounty hunters. That's it, clearly I'm the only competent one around here. Prepared to die, you grotesque animal. With this Wapol's chest opened up, revealing a massive gun with a multitude of barrels. Harpoons the size of a full-grown man appeared in each barrel, and soon enough the castle was once again getting destroyed by the rapid fire of deadly weaponry directly at Chopper. Scan! The reindeer shouted as the Straw Hats bound into action, Zoro, Johnny and Yosaku appearing in front of them to deflect any immediate harpoons. Sanji appeared on Wapol's arm, kicking off any excess weaponry he could see. The king swatted at him with a free hand, but it barely did any good. Luffy and Dalton also climbed onto the king and began tearing away at anything they could find. Deciding he needed to do something, Usopp aimed and fired a round right at Wapol's fire, causing it to explode and the king to cough. Damn pirates! He shouted as he swayed all around, causing the harpoons to fire every which way thanks to his shaking. I'll kill all of you. You're doing a better job at remodeling your castle, a new voice said. The harpoons stopped. The smoke cleared. The entire crew hit the ground and rolled, waiting for the next attack. It came in the form of Wapol laughing his head off. Usopp made a face as the king hit the ground and rolled from side to side, laughing as hard as he could. He couldn't even get a word in, it was so bad. At this, Usopp saw yellow paint splashed across his back. And Ms. Golden Week standing there. He should be easy to take out now, she said. Who would like to do the honors? Me? Luffy shouted immediately. Without any warning, the captain of the Straw Hats bolted in front of everyone else, his arms stretching out behind him at an incredible length. This is for hurting my friends, for nearly destroying this country. Oh, and eating Mary, you fat ass. Why you? Wapol tried, but he couldn't get any words out. Stuff it, Luffy shouted, the sound of rubber cracking back into place echoing inside the castle. Take the hint. No one wants you here, Gum Gum Bazooka. One last hole was blown into the castle atop the mountain, as Luffy's attack sent the massive former king right through the opposing wall and straight into the night. His laughter soon died away, leaving the crew standing amidst the rubble. After a moment or two, Luffy laughed. So Nijiko, he said as he turned and placed his hands behind his head. You were making us food, Luffy? I think there's more to focus on right now instead of food. Nijiko said flatly as the Straw Hats came to see just how much destruction Wapol had caused in his own castle. Luffy just frowned. Well, the destruction wasn't our fault, he said, it was the king. Well, you're right, but and Nijiko is hurt, anyway, Chopper said, pointing to her stomach. I wouldn't be surprised if she's fractured ribs. I'm fine, Nijiko excused as she wiped blood from her mouth. Luffy did see she looked somewhat pale. Just give me a minute. Let's round up those damn Baroque Works agents and get them out of here. I was kind of hoping you'd let me handle that, a new voice said. Luffy looked past his crewmates to see two of the agents, Mr. Five and Ms. Golden Week, standing side by side. Crap, Johnny shouted. They're back up, get your weapons, you guys. Please don't, Mr. Five said as he held up his hands. I'm not trying to fight you. I just want to take those two and leave. And why should we let you do that? Sanji demanded. You're not just gonna crawl back to your boss. Now why would I do that? Mr. Five demanded. If we crawl back and you guys make it to Alabasta, we're dead meat. He'll kill us. Don't, Vivi said. We can't let him go, he's the enemy. A fair point, Mr. Five said. I guess all I can say is to trust me. The crew fell silent at this, no one knowing what they had to say. Did they let him take Ms. Valentine and Mr. Three away? I think we can trust him. Everyone turned as Nami's voice was heard. Luffy saw her standing next to the doctor as they walked towards the group. Nami wrapped in a blanket to protect her from the cold wind as it blew in through the many cracks in the castle. Why do you say that? Nijiko asked. Nami frowned. Call it faith, she replied. After all, Ms. Golden Week helped us. Maybe he's being truthful. I swear on my life, Mr. Five said. I'm going to take them both and sail as far away from Alabasta as we can get. You'll never see us again if we have anything to say about it. No one said anything again, and finally Zoro put a hand on Luffy's shoulder. It's up to you, Captain, he said with a wary glance. Do we let them go or lock them up? Great, of course this fell on him. Luffy knew he wasn't informed enough to make this decision, but now everyone was looking at him. Will we see you again? Luffy asked Mr. Five. The man grimaced. I can swear to you, you won't see us in Alabasta. I promise we'll never go there again, on my life. You better not, Luffy replied. Because if we cross paths again before we save Vivi's country, it will come to that. Third time we won't be as forgiving. Mr. Five swallowed hard at this, but nodded. Are you sure about this, Luffy? Nijiko asked. They're dangerous. I'm not going to take someone else's freedom from them, he said. But I'll make sure he doesn't have a choice should we see him in Alabasta. 3 strikes and you're out. Nijiko didn't seem to agree, but she nodded. I trust you, she said. So I guess that's what we'll do. Appreciating the support of his quartermaster, Luffy watched as Mr. Five picked up Ms. Valentine and Mr. Three, before turning back to leave. As he did he passed Ms. Golden Week, and paused. I don't know what you're looking for, Ms. Golden Week, he said flatly as the small girl looked down, making her woolly hat obscure her eyes. But I hope you find it. You too, she said. Be safe. Mr. Five laughed. Thought you said the agency wasn't a family? He asked. Says the guy saving those two instead of saving his own hide. This just made Mr. Five laugh again, leaving the castle with both his allies in tow. This left Ms. Golden Week with them, along with the wind and snow blowing inside. Let's get back up to the infirmary, Kureha said. It's frigid down here, and I can see one of my patients is shirtless again. Yosaku gulped at this. I didn't want paint on my clothes, ma'am, he cried. After everyone had returned upstairs and Kureha gave everyone a checkup, all heads turned to his Ms. Golden Week. She'd been quiet while everyone's injuries got treated, just watching with keen interest. So, Luffy said as he turned to her, I heard you betrayed your friends to come with us. You heard right, she replied, biting into a cracker Chopper had brought her. I'm willing to work with you guys. You never said for what, though, Nami said from her bed. Why do you want our help? Is that relevant? Ms. Golden Week asked. I can help you take down Mr. Zero and save Alabasta. I think that's enough for now, no? Not a chance. Zoro replied. You were oh so eager to betray those 3 who just left. Who's to say this isn't a trap to kill us? Ms. Golden Week pressed her lips together, looking irritated. If we can't take down Mr. Zero, it doesn't matter what my motive is, because we'll all die in that god-forsaken country. This made Vivi growl almost instinctively. So I'll tell you once the time comes. Tell us now, Luffy replied sternly. Or you can stay here. This seemed to surprise her, so Luffy continued. Zoro's right that you could betray us at any time, so give us a reason if you have one. She started, perhaps trying to think of an excuse. Fine. I'll tell you. The girl took a deep breath, looking Luffy right in the eyes. I want to go home, back to my home island. I haven't been there since I was little. All I want is to go back. Where is this place? Johnny asked as he rubbed his chin. It's called Water 7, she replied. One of the most gorgeous places on the Grand Line. I left when I was very little, and I want to go back. That's an easy excuse, Nijiko said quickly. Is that it? We shouldn't be so quick to judge, Nijiko Swan, Sanji said. Perhaps the little angel just wants to go home. I'm not gonna buy it that easily, Nijiko said flatly. And neither should you. This seemed to deflate Sanji a bit. But Luffy wasn't in the mood to laugh at him. Is that it? He demanded to Ms. Golden Week. The girl made a face. Kinda, she said. Is that so weird? Not really, no, Luffy said. I'm sure all of us feel homesick to a degree. Right guys? Of course. Usopp agreed. I miss Kaya every day. I could never miss that old bastard, Sanji said, looking away for some reason. Fair enough, Nijiko said, casting a glance at Nami, who just looked down at her bedsheets with a sad smile. That's my reasoning. Ms. Golden Week said. My home. It's what inspired me to be a painter. All my life I've wanted to draw the island as a whole. From its round bottom all the way to its fountain peak. But I've never gotten to see it in person since I was little. Hearing this, Luffy was far more inclined to accept her. She had a dream. Maybe one that was a tad easy to make come true, but a dream nonetheless. Luffy turned to see Nijiko walking up to him, pulling him aside and putting her head next to his. We have no idea if we'll ever even cross Water 7. We have no idea if any of our logs will take us there. I'm sure we can find an eternal pose, Luffy replied. Even if we did, are you doing to sidetrack your own dream for her? Luffy made a face and looked back at Ms. Golden Week. He knew Nijiko was right, but he also knew that they needed all the help they could get dealing with Crocodile. But could he really trust her? Sighing, Luffy came to a conclusion as everyone watched him. She can come, he said. Johnny, Yosaku. Yes, big bro? They asked in tandem. Watch over her for me. Like guards. If she does anything suspicious, you report to Zoro, Nijiko or Ioke. Both men looked shocked for a moment, neither say a word. Finally, as tears came from their eyes, they both jumped up happily. Big bro Luffy is giving us an important task. Yosaku shouted. We will complete it as best we can. We won't fail you, big bro, Johnny agreed as he wiped at his eyes. Luffy laughed at the men's tears, their excited tears lightening the mood. Guess that settles it, Sanji said. Johnny, show me these up something. Why yes sir, big bro Sanji, Johnny said through his tears, leaving to show the cook the way. One more question, Luffy said as Ms. Golden Week watched the two leave. What's your name? Name? She asked. Your real one, Luffy clarified. You know, not your code name. I don't feel like saying Ms. Golden Week every time I call you. For a moment the girl paused, not answering. Finally, she smiled weakly. Marianne, she said. My name's Marianne. The Straw Hat cook, Sanji as Chopper learned his name was very proficient in the kitchen. Even with the small amount of food he was able to cook up a small feast for everyone. Luffy ate like his life depends on it, everyone else just taking what they could hide from the ravenous captain. Marianne mostly kept to herself, already under the watchful eye of the two swordsmen tasked with watching her. I'm just eating, you weirdos, she said flatly. We were told you watch you, Johnny said. And watch you we will, Yosaku added. Chopper couldn't help but laugh a bit at their intensity. They really didn't need to be so wild. I can't thank you all enough for your help, Dalton said, saying this as the crew was stuffing their mouths. To throw Wapple from this place, to save us. You didn't need to do that. I don't need to do anything, Luffy replied as he brandished a bone at Dalton. I did it 'cause I wanted to. Now eat before I eat it all. Actually, I'll eat it all anyway. Luffy made a grab for Dalton's food, who just watched him as he ate it. Chopper had no idea where the man kept all of that food, but if he had to guess, it probably had to do with Luffy's elasticity. "Are you done?" Nami asked from the door. Despite Doctorine's orders, the redhead was up and already dressed. "We really need to get a move on, or else we may be too late." "Don't you think we can rest a little, Nami?" Luffy asked with a mouthful of food. "No, moron," she said. "Do you want to fail Vivi?" Luffy didn't even need to look over at the woman to shake his head angrily. "That's what I thought. Now, grab your stuff and let's go." Chopper watched as the pirates shuffled around the room, grabbing their belongings and making for the door. He made no move to join them, watching as they made for the door. He thought about Doctorine, and about Hiralik. Did Chopper really need to stay here? Was he really doing what the doctor would have wanted? Like Nejiko had told him? Would staying here, and watching as his chance to see the world walked away? "Are you coming or not?" Luffy's voice came. Chopper looked up to see the whole crew waiting halfway through the door, all looking at him. "Huh?" he asked weakly. Luffy smiled as wide as the ocean as he gestured out the door. "Are you gonna come with us?" he asked. "We know you want to, so come on." "We need a doctor too," Nami said with a kind smile. "You'd be a great addition." "You people don't have a doctor?" Marianne demanded. "Silence, you!" Yosaku said way too highly. "I'm just talking," Marianne shouted. He said silence, Johnny repeated. "Would you two shut up?" Zoro demanded. The crew descended into chaos. All as Luffy and Chopper watched each other. Luffy seemed completely ignorant to the chaos, somehow, just watching Chopper. Was this a serious offer? No, it couldn't be. After all, they were human. He was a monster. A reindeer. What did they have in common? Nothing. Going with them was foolish. "I can't," he finally said, raising his hooves. "I have no reason to go. You guys are human, and I am a monster. It's not something that would work out. I appreciate how nice you've been to me and everything, but." "Shut up and grab your stuff," Luffy shouted, startling Chopper. "Nami said we're on the clock, remember?" "Let's go, little bro," Johnny shouted, Yosaku up in arms as well. "You know you want to," Nejiko said. "It'll be fun," Usopp said. Chopper watched as the crew tried to convince him to come. Little did they know, as tears welled up in Chopper's eyes, that he'd already made his decision. "Hey, are you sure?" he asked hopefully. Luffy laughed, the rest of the crew smirking. "I'm not like you guys." "Why would we not be?" he asked. "Let's go already." "I thought I told you people to stay in bed," Kureha said as she saw the crew making for the exit. After the massive brawl, tons of people had come up to make sure she was okay. Much to her own chagrin. Of course, she'd set them right to work moving all of the rubble and fixing up the castle as best they could, so they were even now. Oh, and that other thing she wanted to do. The crew paused at the front door, looking at her. "I thought I told you people to stay in bed," she said, the wounded members on the crew flinching a bit. "Rebellious to the end, huh?" None of them said anything. Chopper appearing from in the middle of the pack. "Doctorine," he said. "I came to tell you that I'm leaving with them." A lot of different emotions whirled around Kureha's head as he said this. Sadness, anger, and a ton others she couldn't really identify. But why did she feel that way? She'd encouraged the pirates to take him anyway. It was foolish to think that they wouldn't take her up on that after everything that had happened. Finally, she chuckled. "Did you think I'd have some kind of overblown reaction?" she asked. Chopper making a confused sound. "How many times have I told you? I only looked after you because I felt like Hiralik would have smacked me had I not. You're free to go if you want. I'm not your mom." "Harsh," Yosaku said aloud. Johnny smacking the back of his head. Kureha looked back at Chopper. "Honestly, you could have left any time you could," she said. "But I guess you never had a reason to before, huh?" Doctorine. "I put your bag in the sleigh," she said, pointing behind herself to the door. "I figured you'd be leaving, so you can take them down in that. Is that all?" Silence came over everyone, even the people who'd come up to work with her. "Well, guess we should be going then," Luffy said. "Thanks, Doc. I promise we'll look after him." "Little bro Chopper will be safe with us," Johnny shouted. As the crew dragged him away, Kureha knew Chopper was watching her. After a moment or two, she heard him sniffle. "I'll miss you," he shouted, the crew stopping. Kureha didn't look. She refused to or else she'd cry. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Don't be foolish, Kureha replied. I don't want your thanks. If you're gonna go, go. Amid the silence she could hear the crew shuffling away, presumably leaving the castle. She didn't look until she couldn't hear them anymore, and Dalton walked up to her as she did so. Are you sure that was okay? He asked. You were pretty cold just now. I'm not a fan of sad goodbyes, she replied flatly as more footsteps could be heard. Besides, he's old enough now. It'll be okay if he's with those guys. You Dr. Kureha? Both of them turned as two people walked up to them, one holding a piece of paper on his hand. We need to show you this. What is it? Dalton asked. The paper was handed over to him, and Kureha looked over his shoulder to see. Monkey D. Luffy 30 million berries. Huh, Dalton said as they both examined the bounty. That's him all right. Yeah, one of the men who brought it to them agreed. It seems they're some of the bad ones. What should we do? Where did you get this? Dalton asked. The other man frowned. Well, it actually happened a few days ago, he said. This guy showed up here looking for the Blackbeard pirates. When we told him they weren't here anymore, he then asked if we'd seen that guy. He told us that if we saw him, that he wanted to meet up in Alabasta, where he'd be for 10 days or so. Do we chase after him? Don't bother, Kureha replied with a smirk. Chopper's in good hands. Those people aren't the bad ones, I can tell. Can you now? Dalton asked with a small smile. And how do you know that exactly? It's just a hunch, she replied. Now get back to work. The last thing we need is for Chopper not leaves. As everyone returned to work grabbing the cannons Wapol hadn't eaten, Kureha walked to the edge of the broken castle and looked outwards into the snow, smirking. Huh? She asked aloud. I didn't realize anyone still openly wore that name. Chopper's gotten himself into quite the mess, now hasn't he? That night, as the Straw Hat Pirates made their way back to their ship, something different occurred. Something that had never happened in all of the time this nameless kingdom on the Grand Line had existed. As the snow fell all over the island, an explosion could be heard from the castle of their former king. If one were to look up, they would see a beautiful pink simmer in the sky. The snow that would fall next would be as pink as cherry blossom petals, something that was essentially impossible on the winter island. The glow added something of a warm glow to the usually frigid island, but no one really seemed to know what it meant. Although it could be said that, if you were close enough to a certain shore of this island, that you could hear a voice crying happily in the night. Crying as their father's dream was recognized, that he had not died in vain. That, for the first time, this island could see the pink of cherry blossoms. As usual, the second that the crew was out of danger the going merry descended into chaos. Luffy had a pair of chopsticks stuck in his nose and mouth, making his face stretch into an odd and uncomfortable looking position. This caused both Usopp and Chopper to fall into a fit of laughter, while Johnny and Yosaku did their best to hold the laughter in as they guarded Marianne, who looked stunned. Zoro had already fallen asleep. Nijiko watched with a bemused smile as Nami attacked Luffy for trying to get her to put chopsticks up her nose, and Vivi just laughed along as she caressed Kuru. Can we just focus for 2 seconds? Nami demanded as she ripped the chopsticks out of Luffy's nose. And get this out of your nose. But it's funny, Luffy countered angrily, glaring at her. Nami looked totally exasperated, and Vivi couldn't blame her. She seemed the only one trying to calm everyone down. Go on, give it a go, Chopper, Usopp encouraged, a pair of chopsticks in his hands as he goaded the reindeer on. Ahoy, idiots, Sanji shouted, re-emerging from the kitchen with 2 trays full of mugs. We've got to celebrate the additions to the crew. Gather round. As the crew scrambled for a drink, Vivi noted that Sanji purposefully grabbed several away and delivered them to the ladies, herself included. She could only assume, as she took hers, that he had added his own flair to theirs so it didn't taste as bad. As everyone got their drinks, Luffy stood atop a nearby barrel and cleared his throat. Attention, you guys, he shouted, making everyone look over. It's time we celebrate our brand new addition to the crew, Chopper. It's so good to have you. The reindeer blushed a deeper red than Vivi thought possible as everyone cheered his addition, opting to shove his head into his hat in embarrassment. Not to mention our new friend Marianne. There was considerable less excitement at this, but the pig-tailed girl didn't seem to be affected by it much. Vivi still wasn't a fan of trusting her, but she knew it had been Luffy's decision, not hers. Speaking of Marianne, Nami said before they could continue their celebrations. What exactly is it do you know about Mr. Zero and his plan? Marianne shifted a bit at this, looking uncomfortable. I don't want to act like I know a whole lot, she replied, because I'd be lying. That being said, I do know Mr. Zero's been in Alabasta for a long time. I know that he's behind the civil war there, in case you hadn't figured that out already. Vivi frowned and clenched her fists at this. So what she'd found out was true. He was at fault for that. So Crocodile is behind it after all, Sanji said as he lit a cigarette. Interesting. Marianne's face paled at this. See Crocodile? She asked weakly. That's who you've been working for, Nami told her. I guess the rumors that you guys didn't know your boss were true. Marianne swallowed hard, but nodded. They were, she said. Speaking of that, Mr. Zero Crocodile called us on Little Garden. He wanted us to meet with him in Alabasta, but that was because he assumed that we'd dealt with you guys. No thanks to Mr. 3, of course. Despite the venom in her words, Vivi noted the former agent seemed sad when she spoke of her former ally. We may be able to use that. How so? Nijiko asked as she shed her winter jacket. The other 3 are supposed to be with you, and they're nowhere to be found. Marianne nodded thoughtfully at this, rubbing at her chin. Sorry, but what's going on? Chopper asked, sounding lost. Vivi's actually a princess, Yosaku said as he gestured to her and Kuru. Her country's been at war with itself for a few years. Big baddie named Crocodile is in charge of it. We gotta take him out. Even though I never knew my boss was one of the warlords, Marianne said, trailing off. Warlord? Chopper screeched. I knew I recognized the name. Don't make me remember, Usopp said grimly, looking despondent. Who cares who he is, Luffy said flatly. He's gotten in the way, we take him down, simple as that. I admire your tenacity, Luffy. Vivi said with a weak smile. It makes this a little easier for me. Kuru quacked, and Luffy laughed. Kuru thinks so too, Chopper said. He's glad Luffy is helping you guys. Silence fell on the Straw Hats, all of them staring at Chopper. You can understand him? Vivi asked incredulously. Chopper looked confused. Well, yeah, he said. I'm still an animal at heart, so I understand their speech. Kuru quacked and jumped to his feet with joy. Kuru seems glad someone can actually understand him too. There was more silence following this, before the crew erupted in glee again. You really are the best, Chopper, Luffy said as he picked the reindeer up and twirled him around, the doctor overcome with embarrassment again. It's not like your approval means anything to me, asshole. Naturally, it all went to hell in the morning, again. Let me ask one more time, Sanji said with an angry scowl on his face. Did you or did you not eat all of our rations? No, Luffy replied immediately, face reminiscent of a small child lying through their teeth. Sanji saw through this of course, kicking the captain in the head and shouted obscenities while the other men on the crew hastily chowed down on their portion in silence to avoid punishment. It had been the captain's idea after all, he could take the fall for it. Better catch some fish, you guys. Nijiko said as she rubbed the bridge of her nose as Luffy groaned. Or else we'll starve on the way there. On it, Usopp said, Chopper fishing next to him. What do you mean he's like a hero? The crew all turned to Vivi, Marianne, Johnny and Yosaku as the bald swordsman asked this question. Vivi just nodded as everyone else approached. The warlords are government-sanctioned pirates, she said. No one cares what it is they get up to, as long as they're protected. And from what I know, Crocodile does a good job of that. Which is the perfect cover, Marianne continued from in between the two swordsmen constantly guarding her. No one would ever suspect the great Crocodile of doing something so nefarious. What exactly is he doing? Nijiko asked. You never said. Marianne nodded, eating her crackers quietly. How they'd escaped Luffy's assault on the stores, Nijiko would never know. He's working to create an ideal country, Marianne said. What that means is anyone's guess, but everyone in Baroque works for him in the hopes that they'll have a good standing when he does create this country. On top of Alabasta, Vivi hissed, looking angry. Marianne nodded. Precisely, she said. I can only assume he's funding the insurgents behind the government's back in order to sow chaos. Then once the dust clears he takes what he wants, presumable after the whole country goes up in smoke. We'll stop him, Luffy said, Having recovered from his beating isn't a problem. Doubtful, Marianne replied. He'll most likely deal with any of us with zero issue, so we'd need a good plan to get back at him. Not to mention that he can use his warlord privileges to just put out a personal bounty on us. He can do that, Usopp screamed. We're dead meat. He's essentially with the Marines, so yeah. Marianne supplied. Now that I know Mr. Zero and Crocodile are one and the same, it makes sense. Crocodile is well known in these seas. Pretty decent warlord from what I've heard. All he's gotta do is say we're dangerous and need to be dealt with, and anyone looking for some chunk change will come knocking. Not just Baroque works, either. I'm talking anyone who wants money. The only advantage we have right now is he thinks you lot are dead. Wait, what? Nami asked. Why does he think that? Marianne let out a soft chuckle. Part of Mr. Three's glorious plan, she said. He told Mr. Zero after you defeated us on Little Garden that you were dead. His plan was to kill you before you reached Alabasta, so that it wasn't technically a lie. Now that that's fallen through, Mr. Zero will learn eventually it wasn't true, only upset tea. Then we should use that to our advantage, right? Vivi asked. I mean, if he thinks we're dead then he's bound to have lowered his guard a little. Doubt it, Marianne replied as he chewed on her crackers. After all, I didn't even know who he was until last night, and I'm one of the top-ranking agents. I imagine he's probably being more cautious than ever before now that his plan is coming to fruition. I would be. The crew sat in silence for a moment, taking in what they'd just heard. For a moment no one spoke, but the silence was soon interrupted by what sounded like an underwater explosion. Looking forward, Vivi saw that the ocean was boiling ahead of them, spewing steam into the air. What's that? Yosaku asked in confusion. Hot spot, Nami answered. Do we need sunscreen? Johnny hypothesized. Nami laughed at this. No, silly, she replied. It just means there's an underwater volcano down there. It's spewing up fresh magma and boiling the water. There are volcanoes underwater? Chopper asked incredulously. Yep, Nami said as the ship approached the hotspot. In a few million years, a new island will probably have formed here for the magma being spewed out. Cool, huh? Good thing we have our trusty geologist, Nijiko teased, punching Nami's shoulder lightly. Nami blushed a little. I made it a habit to learn all things about the ocean, she said pointedly. So of course I know about hot spots. Do we avoid it? Sanji asked. Nah, we'll be fine. Get back to work, we'll pass through it before you know it. And so they did. The crew returned to their positions as the Going Merry passed over the hot spot. The only thing it changed was the occasionally complaint that the steam was making someone sweat. That was, of course, until Luffy thought he hooked a fish for them. Vivi hadn't been looking, but she heard some of them scream. We caught an Okama, Luffy screeched. Vivi had no idea what that meant, but as she rushed over she soon found out. Luffy pulled a man onto the Merry, a man wearing a bright pink coat with swans attached to his shoulders. She could see why Luffy had cried out in surprise, as the man's face was covered in makeup that the water was washing off. How had they fished up some unfortunate soul in drag makeup? Thank you so much, the man shouted as they finally pulled him aboard. To think my life was saved by mere pirates. My life is in your debt. What the hell were you doing swimming, anyway? Nami demanded as he wiped at his face, which only screwed up his makeup more. Well, I wasn't planning on it, he said. I just ended up in the drink. And seeing as I cannot swim, it was very unfortunate. You can't? Luffy asked. Why's that? Why, because I ate a devil fruit, the man replied. This seemed to garner Luffy's interest. Ooh, he said, stars in his eyes. Which one did you eat? What can you do? The man laughed. Allow me to show you, he shouted. With this, he slammed an open palm into Luffy, which sent him flying back through a wall. Luffy, Zoro shouted, unsheathing his swords. How dare you hurt Big Bro? Johnny and Yosaku shouted, also unsheathing their swords. Vivi noted at this moment Marianne had disappeared. The man laughed. Fear not, he announced. It's all a part of the show. Watch this. Vivi watched in completely disbelief as the man brought the hand that struck Luffy up to his own face. And he changed into Luffy. What the hell? Luffy shouted as he reappeared from the cabin. Just what the hell do you think you're? Whoa! Luffy's anger immediately turned to glee as he saw what happened. You're me? What is this? The man just laughed. You can call me Bon Clay, he replied. I ate the clone fruit, and have gained the ability to take on the appearance of any man, woman or child. This includes their strengths and abilities, barring other devil fruit powers of course. With this, he ran a hand across the whole crew save for her, as she was watching from the railing above. Vivi watched as he turned into everyone one at a time. From Luffy to Usopp to Chopper to Negico to Nami. Everyone watched in surprise, not sure what to say. This is so cool, Luffy shouted as Bon Clay laughed in Nami's voice. You're awesome. Indeed, Clay agreed. I can remember every single person I've ever copied. I even copy their bodies, not just faces. He then flashed the entire male crew with Nami's body, and Vivi flinched at this. This wasn't good. Everyone had their own reaction of course. Zoro, Chopper and Karoo barely seemed fazed, while Luffy, Usopp, Johnny and Yosaku's eyes nearly popped out of their skulls from the view. Sanji, though, hadn't been looking at the time. And by the time he turned to catch a glimpse, Nami had already smashed her fist into Bon Clay's skull and sent him into the dirt as himself. What the hell do you think you're doing? Nami fumed angrily as the men gaped. Don't just show people my naked body. Show me your naked body, Nami Swan, Sanji pleaded with tears in his eyes. I didn't get to see, show me again Mr. Bon Clay. Sanji also received a kick to the skull, sending him into the same hole in the cabin Luffy had made. You're so beautiful big sis Nami, Johnny said as he saluted, tears flowing out from behind his glasses. Truly a sight to behold, Yosaku agreed. Don't think being nice is going to save your asses, Nami shouted as she turned on them. Both of you are gonna scrub the deck until I can see my damn reflection in it and… Do you really think I'm pretty? Vivi snorted as Nami's vanity showed itself. She had no doubt the poor guys were still gonna scrub the deck, but at least they'd calmed her down somewhat. Ship starboard, Negico said, breaking everyone out of their respective arguments. That your guys, Clay? Vivi turned her gaze to Locke, seeing that a sip was indeed coming toward them. It was the same sickly pink as the coat Bon Clay was wearing, and the figurehead was a swan. Yes, it was definitely his guys. It is indeed, Bon Clay shouted, jumping onto the railing of the ship as his own approached. My dear pirate friends, I cannot thank you enough for your help. If our paths cross again one day, I would love to see you again. After all, we're friends now. Don't go, Luffy shouted with overdramatic tears in his eyes. Join our crew. I cannot, Bon Clay replied, also crying now. I have prior obligations, however, know this, we have formed a bond here today, all of us, we will meet again, I know it. With this the man jumped ship back to his own, and they began to pull away. Let's go, men, we have our mission. Yes sir, Mr. 2 Bon Clay, the crew shouted, pulling off into the distance quietly. The Mary, however, once again exploded in chaos. Did they just say Mr. 2? Usopp shouted. That was Mr. 2? Luffy asked in disbelief. But he was so cool. How did he not notice us? Nami asked. Vivi was right there the whole time. Vivi didn't know either. Surely if he was so close to Baroque Works' inner circle he knew something right. I'd heard rumors about him, she said. That he was very powerful, even if a little weird. You mean Gaw? Zoro was cut off as Negico clocked him in the head. So now we know, she said. Except his little parlor trick is a problem now. He got to touch all our faces. So, Chopper asked. It means he can turn into any one of us, Negico said. If we aren't careful, he might trick us on the battlefield. Turn into Nami and find me, for example. I wouldn't be able to trust her. Him. Whatever. Point is that's not good. Negico Swan has a point, Sanji agreed. Not unless we stick together at all times, we can't trust each other, and… Wait! Where's Marianne? It was at this moment the rest of the crew noticed the former agent no longer anywhere on the deck. She's gone, Yosaku screeched in surprise. We only looked away for a second. She probably got on board Mr. 2's ship, Usopp shouted in fear. She betrayed us. I'm right here. Everyone turned to watch Marianne step carefully out of the hole Luffy haw, munching on more crackers. Vivi spared a thought to wonder where she was getting them. Did you think I'd stand out where Mr. 2 could easily identify me? No thanks. You knew that was him? Negico asked. Yes, she answered quickly. I thought that was obvious. Nobody responded, so she continued. Look, I couldn't say anything because if I did I was risking us being found out. We were already playing risky with Princess Savior over here being around. So I hid until he left. Well now what then? Nami demanded. He's got a copy of all of us save you. Guess you guys can trust me now, huh? Marianne asked. No one laughed. It was a joke, chill out. Mr. 2's ability is easy to bypass. Watch. Everyone watched as Marianne walked up to Luffy, pulling out a marker. She pulled out his left arm, drawing an X on his forearm. There, she said. Problem solved. How? Luffy asked, inspecting the X. Because Mr. 2's ability only copies appearances at the time of his first touch, Marianne said. So if our appearance changes after we've been copied, he shows up how we looked before, Nijiko finished, a smile on her face. That's smart, Marianne. It's nothing, the painter replied, hiding her burning cheeks underneath her hat. Now, come and get one, all of you. So we know who's real and who isn't when the time comes. At the same time, as the Straw Hats continued en route to Alabasta, there was another happening in the very same leg of the sea. However, it involved neither the Straw Hats nor any of their friends. Some ways beyond them, sat a certain ship with a 3 emblazoned on the side. Next to it sat several Navy ships, all attached to it. This is all your fault, Mr. 3, Ms. Valentine's shrill angry voice came. Why did we get so close? How was I supposed to know that the Navy was around here? Mr. 3 countered. I thought we'd be in the clear. Right, Mr. 5 complained, because there's nothing suspicious about our ship. Currently, the 3 former agents were tied to the mast of one of the Navy ships, seastone cuffs around all their wrists. It had happened in the blink of an eye, really. The ships had come close, and suddenly they were beset on by Marines. And they'd been cuffed. Taken captive, but by who? Who was the captain here? They soon got their answer as the cabin to one of the door opened. A massive man came out of the cabin, several cigars in his mouth. Ms. Valentine recognized him. He'd led the Marines in their charge. He walked up to them and knelt down before them. Let me guess, he said as his cigars stayed in his mouth, Baroque Works? Huh? Mr. 3 said. What do you mean? You're with Baroque Works, the captain clarified, aren't you? We have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. 5 replied. We were just on our way to. Cut the crap, the captain said as he grabbed Mr. 5's skull. You already got identified. No need to hide it. Identified? Ms. Valentine demanded. What moron incorrectly identified us? The captain chuckled, stepping aside for them to see. All 3 agents laid eyes on the cuffed Mr. 11, who chuckled weakly at them. Hiya guys, he said. Long time no see. Now, here's what's gonna happen. The captain said. You're gonna give me all the info on your little crime org, and then you'll help me take him down. And who exactly said we were gonna help you? Mr. 3 demanded. I did, the man said. I'm Smoker, by the way. The guy who might be able to sway your level sentencing you'll serve and impel down. Now, start talking.